有一种神秘的物质，让生命的起源成为可能，让生物的进化有迹可循。这就是奇妙的呈双螺旋样式的 DNA。组成 DNA 的碱基 ATCG 两两对应，盘旋排列，形成了一部部生命天书，仿佛上帝之手指出的骰子。20世纪末，伴随着载入史册的国际人类基因组计划，中国科学院北京基因组研究所应运而生。代表中国完成人类基因组计划1%部分，率先完成中国超级杂交水稻基因组计划，为基因组科学在中国的发展打开了大门。人类基因组计划的完成，使基因组科学获得了前所未有的迅猛发展。面对机遇和挑战，北京基因组所组建了中国科学院基因组科学与信息重点实验室和中国科学院精准基因组医学重点实验室，推动建设生命与健康大数据中心，以一流的基因组科学和组学数据平台，探索基因组学奥秘，研究生物学规律，承载着发展基因组科学与技术，造福人类健康的重大使命。基因组研究开创了生命科学研究的崭新时代。遗传的中心法则以 DNA、RNA 序列对遗传信息的传递和蛋白质对功能的体现为核心，半个多世纪以来不断得到延伸和发展。表观遗传学以 DNA、RNA 和组蛋白的修饰、染色质构象变化以及非编码 RNA 等对遗传信息传递的调控为特征，其中的奥秘正逐步揭开，人们对遗传物质本身和生命现象本质的认识，也从基因组深入到表观基因组水平。表观遗传能跨代传递吗？北京基因组所在研究表观遗传信息的跨代遗传规律中，首次证明了 DNA 甲基化图谱能被斑马鱼子带完整继承，颠覆了传统上认为早期胚胎发育主要是由卵子决定的观念，引发了表观遗传对进化作用的新思考，对辅助生殖的临床研究具有重大指导意义。复杂的肿瘤基因组的变异与演化有规律可循吗？北京基因组所运用群体遗传学和计算生物学的理论和方法，解析肿瘤细胞的谱系演化过程，量化性描绘了肿瘤的高度抑制性，为肿瘤的精准医疗开拓了新思路。发现了编码组蛋白修饰酶的新白血病抑癌基因，为急性白血病的精确分子分型和发展靶向药物提供了新机遇。工欲善其事，必先利其器。基因组科学的发展需要不断创新技术和方法。北京基因组所开发了多种 RNA 化学修饰的检测、测序和分析技术，综合利用高密度物理图谱和遗传连锁图谱、单分子测序技术、长短读长混拼等新方法， 完成了复杂基因组的高精度组装，建立了重要物种的组学知识库，为基因组大数据的深度挖掘和应用奠定了基础。本着建设国际一流基因组科学卓越中心的目标，坚持开放合作的发展理念，北京基因组所通过搭建战略性国际合作平台，开展高水平国际交流，实施国际人才交流计划，不断推动前沿学科建设，提高科技创新能力。
Learned a lot about how to supervise. I got an opportunity to do a lot of supervision here and also to lead this small team. I wouldn't have had that opportunity in Denmark.
北京基因组所是青年人才成长的摇篮，为人才的培养和发展提供机会、平台与保障。一批年轻的学术带头人团队逐渐成长，同时为研究生提供了良好的学习和科研环境，不仅注重为研究生储备知识、培养科研能力，更注重培养研究生勇于创新的科学精神、求真务实的科研品格、敢于担当的社会责任感。
我在所里面已经有3年的时间了，这段时间里面，我看了一项项重大科研突破被发表出来，也看到了一批批师兄师姐们顺利毕业，奔赴了非常美好的前程。我在想，这几年研究所赋予我们的，其实并不仅仅只有一纸的文凭，更多的是科研思维的培养，还有触摸知识前沿的宝贵机会。
我们所呢，就像一个大家庭一样，导师不仅指导我们科研工作，也非常关心我们平时生活。这里的文化氛围非常的自由，有着多种多样的科研活动。在此过程中，我们收获的不仅有对科研的自信心，同时呢，对社会责任感也有了更深一层的理解。能够在这里学习，我们感到非常知足，也很幸福。
北京基因组研究所将面向我国人口健康的重大需求，发展基因组学的新理论、新方法和新技术，以建设基因组学原始创新研究基地、创新人才培养基地为理想，志存高远，追求卓越，面向未来。激情是梦想的绽放，梦想因使命而伟大。在新的历史时期，北京基因组所将以更饱满的热情、更昂扬的姿态，向着为人类创造美好生活的目标阔步前行。
You always wonder, who does make you who you are? Is it nature? Is it nurture? Is it a combination of both?
There's this 50% blank slate of unknown in my life. Trying to close that is an important part of self-discovery.
Guess who? Unbelievable. One is wanted a big sister. Are you Angel?
It was crazy that we were so close so quick.
It felt like we were instantly on the same page.
All my life, this is what I've wanted to know. This is just incredible.
It's a new family member. She's an aunt to my children, a friend to my wife.
It's really amazing. Something that just happens in the movies, I guess.
Little bit of the Chills channel there in the beginning, and followed by a Lifetime entertainment. But honestly, it's all chilling. It's all terrifying. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So for those of you that don't know, 23andMe, the family DNA harvesting company cosplaying as a family genealogy history company, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy on the 24th of March. Now, right away, all the pundits were yelling and screaming, rightfully so, saying, get your data off there. Here's how you delete your data. And there's a ton of videos now how to delete your data. Okay, that's great. Thanks for the help. And I think that's great that they did that. Here's the problem. That data's gone. Well, it's not gone, but you can't get it and you can't delete it. Okay. The data's gone, or 99% most likely it's gone. And it's been gone for some time. It's been out of your hands for some time. But you know who does have it is the institutional shareholders of 23andMe. One of the biggest ones being companies that belong and are controlled by the Chinese Communist Party, along with many, many others. Because if you read the terms of service, not the terms of service that they literally just updated on the 14th of March, but read the other terms of service, and 23andMe can basically sell or share your data to anyone, and they can purchase it. Now, they don't have a market per se where they check out and get your DNA. It's called investing and investors. And when they make these massive investing moves, part of the terms of getting these massive influxes of cash or companies usually is data sharing. Okay. But, here's the thing. It sucks for 23andMe customers. It really does. And I feel bad for anyone that uses that service. I'm never going to say I told you so, but people like my guest today, Brandon Weichert, my very good friend, and a geopolitical expert in many categories, especially China's race to control human life through DNA, which is almost the name of his book. We can tell you. I've been, posting this for a long time about BIG, the Beijing Institute of Genomics, and 23andMe. They're pretty much owned by the Chinese Communist Party, and they have been since about 2017. But let's think about it, though. What can the bad actors who now have billions of DNA profiles of individuals all over the world really do with that data? I mean, it's not like they can make bullets to target your individual DNA. Can they? Well, look, we're lucky to have with us tonight author and geopolitical analyst Brandon Weichert to explain why you should be terrified. And I hate to spread fear. I do. I usually like to do an episode that says, here's the really scary thing. Here's what you could do about it. But I'm going to be honest with you. As Brandon and I discussed earlier, there may not be a way to protect yourself against this. Maybe he has some answers because he's literally filling that massive brain of his with more massive knowledge. But hey, and that knowledge is power. Transparency is liberating. So I can definitely promise you those two things after tonight's episode. And maybe, just maybe, if we have the right leadership, which we seem to have in the White House now, maybe they can do something to protect Americans and others around the world from this dangerous data grab, probably the most dangerous one in history. Originally, when everyone started diving into DNA markets, it was called the DNA gold rush. That may have subsided, but the DNA-based weapons arms race may just be beginning. But it probably started a long time ago, as Brandon's going to tell you. So, without much further ado and fear, I give you Brandon Weichert. Let me get him on the stage. Mr. Brandon, good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you for having me again.
Yes, did you like that lovely, heartwarming video from the Beijing Institute of Genomics?
Well, I feel like a good upstanding member of the Politburo now after having sat through that.
I feel full of joy.
Full of joy. That's right. I want to go hug a panda. But
all right, man, the floor is yours. You heard my questions.
Yeah.
Here we are. We got 23andMe. Immediately when I heard that news, I see people who probably should know better all over X and Getter saying, hey, they're going bankrupt. If you're a customer, you better delete your data.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like they have your data on an old Excel spreadsheet. And so then I saw that and I was like, wait a minute, guys, it's too late. That. You think that data is sitting in a server in California? Right. So my question's for you, and I'm going to let you roll with it with only the interruptions I might need to. But what's this bankruptcy mean? It's a Chapter 11. More specifically, is this just a way to put themselves in a position, 23andMe, where the government can't look at what they're actually doing? And two, what does happen to that data? And three, what do people really have to worry about with DNA and bioweapons? But before you begin, my friend, let me just read your bio because you took the time to send it to me, even though I know you well. It's constantly updating. So let me just pull that up. Sorry, guys. This was a rush today, but it was a really exciting to start diving back into the CCP. I know that's kind of a weird thing to say, but it was. It's that's I guess us research geeks. So you feel the same way, Brandon?
Yeah. I haven't really left the CCP though, but yeah.
No one leaves the CCP.
Like the Borg. Once you're assimilated, you are part of the collective.
Okay, so Brandon Weichert is a national security editor at the National Interest and a contributor at Popular Mechanics. Is that a new one?
Yeah, it's in the new year it started. I haven't been as prolific there as I want to be, but that's because my job at National Interest is very demanding right now.
Yeah, I can imagine. So Popular, well, check that out. That's really cool.
Yeah, I've got 4 up there so far. I want to do.
What are you writing about, just out of curiosity?
The first one was on the future of space warfare. The next one was on hypersonic technology. We did one on China's new submarine tracker, and the fourth one had to do with China, but for the life of me, I can't remember now what the fourth one was.
And isn't that the sub-tracker the thing everyone thought were the space lasers for some other reason?
That's one of them, but this one is an electromagnetic device. They go underwater and they basically scan the seafloor, and when they're scanning the seafloor, they can pick up ambient acoustic reverberations, for lack of a better term, of submarines that are way in the distance. So they can detect our nuclear submarines much earlier, which is obviously a critical element for them. If they can scale the technology up, they will be able to detect our subs quicker, farther out, and they have the transmedium hypersonic torpedoes that they've built that can sea skim and dive at the last second and go deep and knock out our subs that way.
Good God, man. And I just watched Hunt for Red October the other night, and I remember when that was scary. That's nothing compared to this.
That's nothing compared to what we're talking about. In fact, it's basically what I've been covering for the last year at National Interest, is all of the submarine and sort of the Navy. I kind of went Navy here, and
it's
for the last
it's how can you not, though? I mean, it's...
Well, especially when you're talking China.
When you're talking world domination.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Sea and space. Those would be the two. Yeah.
Well, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me keep bragging about you.
Oh, yeah.
He is the author of 4 best-selling books, including Biohacked, China's Race to Control Life, which we will be referencing a lot tonight because it was completely appropriate for me to reach out to Brandon when I heard about 23andMe. And Winning Space, how America remains a superpower, in the space war. And Weichert's writings have appeared in dozens of publications, including MSN, Real Clear Politics, The American Spectator, and the Asia Times and the National Interest. Yeah. He is a former congressional staffer who holds an MA in statecraft and national security affairs from the Institute of World Politics in Washington, D.C. Weichert can be followed via Twitter. This is easy to remember. We the Brandon. And I'll put that on the scroller in a second. When COVID-19 erupted from Wuhan, I'm sorry. This is a blurb from Biohacked, which I read and I downloaded
it's a little
another
bit more than a blurb, but it's a little long. But
hey everyone, it's Naomi Wolf, and I have a message. President Trump is in the process of what he calls draining the swamp. But many in the MAGA movement and the MAHA movement are asking if he'll expose the entire pandemic. There's enough public evidence for people to be concerned who injected themselves in what has turned out to be a massive experiment. If you were compelled to get the shot for work, travel, maybe you just trusted the system, check out this natural solution formulated by hero Dr. Peter McCullough in collaboration with the wellness company. They just leveled up their original detox formula, and it costs $30 less. We are introducing the 3-in-1 Ultimate Spike Detox. It's now conveniently consolidated into a single capsule with 4 times more nattokinase, 500 milligrams of bromelain, and 500 milligrams of turmeric root extract. Nattokinase, an enzyme researched for its anti-clotting effects, may work to break down spike proteins. Combined with bromelain and curcumin, it provides a potent blend for detoxification and cellular support. Crafted with 100% natural ingredients, Ultimate Spike Detox is backed by research. It offers effective support for your cell's natural repair and recovery. Experience the only formula approved and used by Dr. Peter McCullough, a top freedom-fighting doctor who risked it all to bring you the truth. Head over to dailyclouthealth.com and use the code DailyClout to get 10% off. Plus free shipping. Again, that's dailyclouthealth.com and use the code DailyClout to get 10% off and get back to that pre-COVID feeling.
Well, you know what? I think I'm going to let you read it.
Oh, okay.
No, I'll read it. I'm sorry.
I don't have it up as the thing. I
just realized that.
Read it. I can
No. I wasn't sure how to do that, and I was like, no, okay. That's rude. You're my guest. Here, Brandon, come to my house for dinner and start cooking. Okay, so here's a blurb from Biohacked, and I'll get that up on the screen in a second, but it's more important that you hear this. And by the way, when I first heard about this book, Brandon was on Steve Bannon's War Room talking about Biohacked. This is 2021, I think.
No, this was
22.
This was a year ago.
No, it was more than a year ago.
No, it was June.
I've known you for more than a year.
It was May, June, and July of 2023. I guess it was 2 years. Yeah, it's 2 years because it's 2025 now. Yeah.
He can reverse engineer the space war, but math,
No, not. Hey, I'm a political science major, so this is.
Oh, you pulled that old trump card on me.
So
okay,
I've
actually had people use that excuse to get out of the debate.
Yeah, I am not a math guy. I like math.
I'm not a math guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the blurb. This is really, and I'm glad you included this. Thank you. No, seriously, because I was looking for a good blurb from your book to kind of capture.
It's the blurb from the book.
I know, but I was trying to put my own together.
I tried too, but I figured just use what the public.
All right, the audience is going to kill me. They're like, get to the information. Okay, audience. Welcome. Thank you. Okay. When COVID-19 erupted from Wuhan, China, under mysterious circumstances, the Communist Party of China covered up its existence for as long as possible. It is now apparent that there is more to COVID than what the authorities wish for us to know. China's race to control life details the decades-long pursuit by the Chinese communists to dominate the biotechnology industry, to control the very building blocks of life on Earth, to further their political control at home and their supremacy abroad. More appalling than the egregious cover-up that China's rulers engaged in with COVID-19 is the fact that Western scientists, pharmaceutical companies, and research labs have contributed to China's rapid and dangerous growth in the biotech industry. So much so that China, not the United States, may become the seat of the biotechnology industry. The Chinese leadership believes that biotechnology is a critical industry for the Communist Party to achieve its goal of becoming the world's dominant superpower by 2049. In China's biotech sector, truly macabre practices are being developed, from ambitious cloning programs to the creation of potential pathogens that China's military plans to use in specific genetic attacks and against Beijing's growing list of political enemies. To stop the threat, author Brandon J. Weichert proposes the world's nations create a comprehensive set of treaties for regulating biotechnology research and development. Further, Weichert calls for Washington to slow the transfer of advanced biotechnology knowledge and funding from the United States to China using means like the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act and the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States, unless an all-government and society approach is taken to curb an irresponsible biotech development in China. Then another deadlier COVID-19 pandemic could be at... Hold on, I got to read that again. Unless an all of government and society approach is taken to curb an irresponsible biotech development in China, then another deadlier COVID-19-like pandemic could be at hand. Sincerely, Brandon Weichert.
I'm a hit at parties. And I think actually that's a great way to open up and answer your question about, could the Chinese actually develop, weapons that specifically target people on the genetic level? And the answer is 1,000,000% yes. In fact, I would argue that's the real reason they're developing biotech at all in China. That's the reason that Xi Jinping included it in his Made in China 2025 program, which, by the way, over 80% of the benchmarks in that stated goal was created in 2015. It was a 10-year plan for China to rise to dominate as many what are known as fourth industrial revolution technologies, of which biotech is a key element. According to the Australian government, according to multiple think tanks in Washington, D.C., Chinese have actually pretty much accomplished the Made in China 2025 goal. And what they haven't accomplished, they've come close to accomplishing, and they're now focusing on that for their next 10-year, which they announced about 2 or 3 months ago, another Made in China program for the next decade, which builds off of the success of that first program. Biotech's a huge component of it. You mentioned the specific ethnic genetic attack phrase. That's not Brandon's creation. That wasn't me creating a shorthand based on something I was reading. That is a term that the Chinese military leader in charge of their bioweapons program for the People's Liberation Army, he's one of the senior most advisors to Xi Jinping. Jeez. That is a term that he created and used in a speech in Beijing in 2019. So a year before COVID hit, he used this term, specific ethnic genetic attacks. Good Lord. He used it in relation to the project of making China be a dominant, the Made in China 2025 program. And he was specifically saying that he was referencing the use of CRISPR-Cas9, which is the gene editing tool that Jan Duda and a bunch of other California scientists created to do the kinds of gene editing for biohacking that I talk about in the book. We gave that technology to the Chinese about 15 years ago, 10 years ago, and more than 10 years ago now. And they have absorbed that knowledge and they have prodigiously used it. Yes, they're creating really ambitious cancer cures. I talk about that in the book as well, but that's sort of a cover for what's really at play, which is these specific ethnic genetic attacks. And I just want to let your audience know, when we talk about your data, you can't delete your data. Your data. So any company, any genomic.
Wait, actually, hold that thought for a second. I'm going to back up and stay on the weaponry here. And
this relates.
The next thing.
Yeah.
So so you talk about specific genetic attacks. What's the delivery mechanism? Are we talking a virus, bullets that, like I kind of jokingly said, could track your DNA profile? What's that look like?
Well, it depends on how you want to do it. And this actually does connect to what I was going to say, in the sense that the world's largest genomics database is in Beijing, and it is run by the Chinese Academy of Sciences. Beijing Genomics Institute is a huge investor in it, but CAS is the big kind of manager of it. Chinese Academy of Sciences is a military front for the People's Liberation Army. And in fact, the PLA has a direct access to that genomics database. And so what they do...
well, I mean, they own it.
They own it, right. And what
and
they
just
do...
for people's... sorry, Brandon.
No, you're fine.
Just for people, because the news cycle moves so quickly, I think it's forced amnesia on the world. The Chinese Academy of Sciences Holdings is the parent to Wuhan Institute of Virology, where COVID-19 was made and released.
Yeah, exactly. And so the reason I brought up the database in relation to the weapons, it's because all of that data, that DNA genomics data, is in one place. And what the Chinese are doing is they're marrying artificial intelligence and possibly soon quantum computing, as well as cloud computing, to collate that information. And let's say that I gave my DNA to 23andMe to find out if I was related to, I don't know, Harrison Ford. I don't know, whatever. That DNA, it has been sampled and filed, because you have to think about this. We talk about genetics, and my wife was a geneticist, so I learned this from her. When you talk about genetics, you're really talking about computer coding through another method. And so you're just coding. It's just coding. And so they take all that DNA information and they put it into a server, and then they use, in this case, artificial intelligence or some computer to go through, and then they want to find Brandon Weichert. They don't like me. They don't like my politics. Well, they now have a DNA sample, and they can now go through and analyze that DNA, and they can say, okay, he is susceptible to heart attacks, or he is susceptible to, you name the disease, and his body won't be able to fight it off as well as another person might. So we're going to create a specific strain of a specific epigenetic change that we will be able to release upon him that will only affect him. It is coded to his specific DNA. Now, just imagine. Now, by the way, the DOD in 2012, the Atlantic did a whole, the Atlantic's in the news a lot right now, but the Atlantic did a whole cover story in 2012 or 2011 about a fear scenario that took hold in the Pentagon at that time. And the fear scenario was, well, what happens if Al-Qaeda gets a sample of the president's hair and gets access to CRISPR-Cas9?
Yeah, I remember that.
Now, forget about Al-Qaeda for a second. Forget about men in caves. What does China do with that? How do they hold the world hostage? How do they use that to their advantage? Let's scale it up for a second, because this is actually in my book. I talk about this specifically. What was going on in 2019, that whole decade, the 2010s? China was rounding up all the Muslim ethnic Turk Uyghurs in Western Xinjiang, putting them in what amounts to concentration camps. The first thing those poor people had to do was they had to hand over DNA samples, hair, skin, saliva, semen, whatever, blood. That was collected by BGI scientists who were on hand. That data was then taken and it was sampled and it was placed in that database. Now, what could possibly be the reason for that? The reason is because that is a specific subgroup of human beings. They're genetically related, and you can likely engineer diseases that will knock out entire blocks of undesirables. And you can do it in a way, as you refine this technology, you can do it in a way that will kill these people without it looking like you're Mengele or you're Hitler. It just looks like, wow, the Muslim Uyghurs just got really sick and all died. Oh, then and think about the kind of chaos they could sow in another country. Imagine unleashing a disease that affects only African Americans.
Right.
Imagine
that's
right
where I was going. I'm thinking diabetes, sickle cell anemia.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, just think about that. And then think of the political chaos that would ensue from just look at what happened with COVID. And I say this in the book. Yeah. COVID was first and foremost a psychological warfare operation.
Of course.
It was because really, look, it was a bad disease. It did kill people, or rather the knock-on effects killed a lot of people, comorbidities. But really what that was a test run to see how the American people in the wider West responds to a pandemic. And we did not respond very well in the eyes of China. So they now know what they can do next time. By the way, I say this in the book, the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Do you know what it was coronaviruses was its main thing it was playing with. But you know what else it was playing with there? Smallpox. And that is the next one. I think they're bioengineering smallpox to be more lethal than it already is. And they're probably programming it using these methods to affect only certain types of people more seriously than others. And at least that's a possibility.
Okay. This is going to be just like one of our conversations that we have for hours every time we call each other or do a podcast. I won't keep you on for hours, but think about this. So I subscribe to the CDC's like outbreak thing, whatever, NIH's as well. And so we just had open borders for 4 years. We had leprosy come through the border, actual leprosy. Could they engineer something that engineer it so it came through on one of the many, not just Chinese, but Belt and Road member citizens, and then like a sleeper type, and then we have an outbreak in 2 years.
Yeah, this individual or group of individuals may not even know they're sick. That's another thing. If it's engineered, you might be able to have it sit delayed in the system or delayed until a trigger. This is all you're playing on what's known as the epigenetic level. So the epigenetic is basically surface level. Okay, you are injecting new inputs into a human body that will trigger responses and changes at the cellular level. Now, in my case, for instance, as you know, I have a very serious autoimmune disease. It is believed when I was a teenager, something happened to me to trigger that particular gene mutation, some environmental input. That's an epigenetic change, a natural one. So now what the Chinese are talking about doing is using this kind of technology, the CRISPR-Cas9 biohacking, just to use a colloquial term, technology to trigger epigenetic changes, but not naturally occurring ones, doing it, with technology to make somebody sicker or to spread a pandemic to a certain group of people. Specific ethnic genetic attacks. It could go for an individual or a group of people.
Well, if you think about okay, I'll get it back on track, but you always drop these things on me, and I'm like, okay, you're activating a thought. So let's think about this. Let's say, and this is not wishful thinking, but let's say the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, who, they look, as you can see, 100 years out, 1,000 years out, they think in dynasties, not in 4-year terms.
Yeah.
So let's say they want 2049. That is the goal. That's the China dream, whatever.
That's the 100th year anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China. For the people who don't know, that's why that year is so important.
Yeah. And by the way, propaganda, if you want to look for Chinese propaganda, Soft propaganda, a great example is the remake of Blade Runner, which happens to be named what?
The remake of Blade Runner? I don't know.
Blade Runner 2049.
Oh, 2049. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember I saw the movie in the theater, and I was just not as good as the original.
Well, you notice that all of the people in China were in shape, healthy, super smart.
Although to be fair, I'm an example. We could all get a little bit more in shape. I definitely could.
I just had my physical at the VA yesterday. I don't even. They have this new thing where you sit in a chair and the chair goes up to weigh you. And I was arguing with my doctor. I'm like, hey, that chair put like 20 pounds on it.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to recalibrate. And then I got home, I tried the scale. I was like, yeah. I was wrapping.
My problem is my kids and my kids really don't eat a lot, but they like McDonald's these days, and I will get something as well for myself.
It is so
I
good.
shouldn't. It really is. It really is.
It's good until it's in you, and then you feel like hell.
Yeah.
But anyway, so think about this. So they're thinking far out. They're thinking strategically. Like, okay, we need to be the dominant global power by 2049. We cannot have really smart people conniving and working around behind our backs and plotting against us. So why don't we take out the most educated parts of America by convincing them to all get the vaccine on political terms, and then they'll all be dead in 10 years? Because the amount of people, I mean, there is a big gap between the amount of people on in the Democratic Party who are, highly educated at very good schools versus the right, which, there's a lot more highly educated, went to really good schools now because they switched. But, think about it. When the pandemic happened, I was watching all the people that were wearing masks and insisting on getting booster after booster after booster. Yeah. Not only could that, they could hypothetically be dead at a certain time if it's programmed, but they can also track everyone based on the fact that they were wearing masks. So they know everyone who got the vaccine, even if they don't have the data, and they can track that. And then, the Chinese like to come at things from multiple sides, and they have multiple uses for everything they do. So you could also track which real estate they own.
Sure. I actually have a theory, though. I actually think, and I might be wrong on this, I actually think the vaccines, China had nothing to do with that. I think that was all us. I think the vaccines. Really? I think the vaccines themselves were a DARPA experiment. They were using all of us as guinea pigs.
I think they were, but you do know about Fosun Pharmaceuticals, right?
Yeah. Well, let me just say there's you might be onto something, because there is a reason that China never forced their population to get the vaccine.
I know.
You might, but if you look at, and Joe Sansone and Latipo and a lot of people you and Naomi know down here in Florida have gotten it labeled as a bioweapon, the vaccine. Well, the vaccine was not developed by China. The vaccine was developed by DARPA. I mean, that it was a backdoor system they created. And so I think COVID came from China. I think the vaccines, though, I'm very concerned about where the origins of that come from. And I don't, that's a very dark topic.
Yeah. And it's really hard to, paint boundaries and national lines on this, because, like, for instance, I know you're looking at your wife. If you need to go, you need to go.
It's my
because I know you got a baby.
No, my 10-year-old's up right now. But keep talking. Keep talking.
Are you sure that's your 10-year-old?
Yeah, it's my 10-year-old. I don't know why she's up still.
It's not a clone or nothing like that.
No, keep talking.
Okay. So, if you want to bounce off, I can. Let me do an ad read, Brandon. I'm gonna do an ad read.
No, we're good. We're good. Okay. I just want to see what's going on.
Okay. And by the way, everyone, it's my fault. I was a half an hour late. So, all right. So where was I?
We were talking about vaccine. I said, it's a bioweapon in and of itself.
Well, what you just said too is really scary too, because what I was saying is that I always try to tell people, like, not you, but other people who want to say it's these guys or it's these guys or these are the bad guys. I'm like, well, start start with the weapon and work your way back.
Right.
Because, yeah, DARPA developed it, but as we know, we have scientists exchanges between all those places, between China.
And I show that in the book.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. You did that very well. While we're talking, I'm trying to pull up my Kindle account so I can, have this as a reference. But so I tell people that because people get so wrapped around the axle about, where it came from. And I'm like, you need to figure out why it came from.
That's right.
That's the key thing. So like it's the same reason why, I'm covering that Luigi Mangione case. It's the same mistake that the prosecutors in that case are making is they never look for a murder weapon these days. They just look for the suspect.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. And I will just say about DARPA, you bring up something, and I'm not sure if we've talked about this before, but Dr. Charles Lieber is a great example of DARPA. One of their lead nanotech guy, and by the way, as our friend Emerald has shown, nanotechnology was used or rudimentary nanotechnology was used in some of the COVID so-called vaccines. We know that now. And nanotechnology was Lieber's bread and butter. He was the head of Harvard's chemistry department. He was DARPA's lead guy for nanotech. And it turned out since 2012, he was running shadow labs in China, sending some of America's best and brightest students to go work in these labs and helping to promote Chinese military scientists to get visas to come into DARPA labs.
Isn't that the 1,000 Talents program?
That is the 1,000 Talents program. And as a guy named Yi Rao who created it, and Yi Rao is an interesting guy. He was the founder, but I know he was definitely the editor at one point of Caixin, Caixin. It was their lead Chinese scientific journal for many years. He was the founder of the 1,000 Talents program, and he's also the guy that the New York Times decided to platform during the pandemic, and he wrote a very famous essay in which he castigated the United States for, quote, killing my uncle, because his uncle lived in New York City, and I actually said, no, Andrew Cuomo killed your uncle. But the fact of the matter is the New York Times gave this guy a platform to attack America's response to COVID, as well as to attack Tom Cotton, who had previously written an essay in the Wall Street Journal saying it came from a lab. And that was within a week of that Cotton article. But the point is that they have infected every single facet of our society with Chinese apologists, propagandists, and actual agents, and it isn't just Chinese off the boat people; it's Americans who go over and become ensnared in the Chinese Communist Party, and then they start doing the bidding of this. In fact, there's some of the worst infiltrators as the Americans.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I'm glad we're talking about this because I think people need to understand, and this is in no way letting anyone off the hook, but they need to understand when you are recruited, there's two ways of getting recruited as an asset or a spy, from another country against your country. There's witting and there's unwitting.
Yeah.
So what we specialized in my line of work were both. Now, witting is easy. Like, that's someone writing into like CIA.gov and saying, hey, I know where the secret codes are. Or lining up in the green zone desk because there was actually a line out in Iraq of people who wanted to give info to the CIA. And then there's unwitting, where we did a lot of that when I was doing private competitive intelligence. Yeah. Like, hey, man, I saw your resume on LinkedIn. It's really great. I'm trying to find out more about this industry for the firm I work for. And you have such an expertise. I could pay you $225 an hour. And I can only promise you 200 hours. And, of course, they're going to tell me everything. And then we'd use tricks to get them to keep talking.
Yeah.
And I've seen the Chinese do that. They've tried to do that to me. They tried to do that to our friend several times over there at the Daily Caller, Philip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, they tried to do it to my wife.
Really? Tell us about that.
It's in the book. And basically, when I met my wife, she was a PhD student in genetics at Yale, and when we started dating, I was working on the Hill at the time, and this was part of my portfolio was national security and China and whatnot. My boss was on the Foreign Affairs Committee, so I was constantly doing stuff with that. And she said, "Hey, it's funny you mentioned this because I keep getting these emails at my Yale.edu email, and there are these job offers for me to come and go work in Wuhan." And this is many years before anybody really knew what Wuhan was, in terms of its relationship to biotech. And, she would get these offers. They were insane. It was, basically the pitch, and I'm paraphrasing, but basically the pitch was, come work in China. We know you're Yale, which means you are the top of the top. Come work in China. We will give you a state-of-the-art lab. You will get first name publication rights on any scientific paper that you are part of, which is a big deal for a new PhD.
Yeah, of course.
And we will pair you not just with scientists in China, but with our access to Europe and elsewhere. We can make sure you get paired with some of the world's top Nobel Prize laureates. Oh, and by the way, if you're hesitant, don't worry. We know you have a lot of student loan debt. We will, as a signing bonus, give you the exact amount you need to pay off all of your student loans. Now, my wife, at the time we were serious. We obviously got married, but my wife, because of that, did not take them up on the offer. Many of her cohort at Yale did, and so many of the next generation of geneticists willingly went to work for Wuhan and in Shanghai and some of these other places. I think Guangzhou is another one. And they did that primarily because the offer for paying off all the student loan debt. That was how, and now they are ensnared. It's a gilded cage.
That's right. It's funny that so basically they pay off the student loan debt, but they have to put in so much time. Is that how that works?
They have to, yeah. It's almost like you're doing like ROTC. You have to do a certain amount of years for this Chinese research lab.
It's almost like being in the Belt and Road Initiative.
Exactly. But as I told her, I was like, well, it's Hotel California that, you can never leave. As she said, as we talked about this long ago, before meeting me, she never thought about it like this. She thought about, well, hey, this would help my career and allow me, because my wife does not come from a wealthy family. So she needed to take student loans and she has a lot of student loans. And so, and a lot of her cohort, there was a lot of people who were first generation, second generation in some cases, but that particular cohort, there was a lot of first generation PhD students who did not come from wealthy families per se.
Right.
So they were the top of the top. It's just, they didn't want to be saddled with debt. I don't blame them. And so this is another reason why I have always said, kind of unrelated to this, that the number one national security threat we face is the two things. It's the national debt, and then specifically it's the education system in this country, not just in terms of indoctrination, but the way that we send kids to college, making them take out boatloads of debt.
Right.
It is criminal. And then they can't even discharge that debt in bankruptcy. It is criminal. It is an absolute criminal way of doing things. And now you have our top, and it isn't, by the way, it isn't just the genetics department at Yale. It's every STEM-based field at every Ivy League. And in fact, if you look at some of the cases in my book, because I go through the different espionage, acts of espionage in the biotech sector, there was a leading professor at the University of Ohio. He was a Chinese American surgeon. He was like all American, though. I mean, you read this guy's CV, you're like, this guy betrayed us. And he was arrested by the FBI in Anchorage, Alaska, with 2 laptops, a burner phone, and 2 briefcases full of gold bars. And that's because he was...
You don't say, gold bars.
Yeah.
Who else had gold bars?
Remind me. Am I missing something?
The senator from New Jersey. Menendez.
Mendez. Yeah, Robert.
Guess what his district has in it?
Chinese lab. Oh, Princeton, right?
Port of New Jersey.
Oh, there you go. And this is where
guess which company has pretty much control over everything that comes on and off ships?
Hutchinson?
ZPMC.
ZPMC. Okay.
The largest Chinese crane company in the world.
Yeah, well, the cranes are a big problem too, as you know. That also gets us into Philip's line of research at the Daily Caller, right? He's done a lot of exposés on the ports. Yeah. But yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Of course, the reason that Mendez was thrown under the bus by the Democrats was because he wouldn't go along with Obama's Cuba policy. But that's another story for another day. But
you know what we should do? Seriously, you know what we should do? We should just like when you're having a stag party at home, wife's out of town, kids are with grandma, and you got nothing else to do. We should just do a data dump and just sit here and invite a few more people on. Get Alex Newman on here, get Trevor Loudon on here.
Oh, Trevor Loudon. Yeah.
Get Jennifer Zeng and Philip.
I don't know.
Oh, Jennifer Zeng from she's from NTD.
Oh, I know Jennifer Zeng. Yeah.
It's called Uncomfortable Truths.
Yes, Uncomfortable Truths.
She was in one of those camps.
Wow.
She was in and escaped. Wow. And so she and I became friends at the you didn't know. It's quite a story.
No, I didn't know that. I know the name, but I'm really only ever on 2 or 3 of the same show.
Jennifer Zeng's great, and audience, she's a great follow. And what I like about Jennifer Zeng,
following her though, actually already.
What's that?
I think I'm already following her.
Yeah, I'm just letting the audience know. I'm like, she's excellent. I'm just going to throw that up here. She's excellent because she gets, having an insider. Me and Brandon can collect all the intel we want, but it will never be as good as a professional journalist or intel analyst from the target country.
Yeah.
We just don't have the context.
Well, there's a reason that the Chinese wiped out all of our human intel. Yeah, I know her. There's a reason the Chinese in 2013 wiped out all of our human intelligence sources in China. They do not want us having that kind of on the ground perspective. So that is the espionage that China conducts, specifically in the biotech sector, is so dangerous. I talk about this in the book. If you remember, in 2016, the last year of the Obama administration, Joe Biden, remember his son died of brain cancer. Beau Biden died of brain cancer, and so Obama made Biden the head of the cancer moonshot program. And everybody thought, oh, that's very sweet. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Well, the reason that occurred is because not long before that announcement, it was determined that, and I think it was in Xi'an, China. It's in my book. I can't remember now because it's been so long since I've talked about this particular example. But it was determined, or it was reported rather, that in Xi'an, China, there were 4 stage 4 lung cancer patients who were given experimental mRNA shots that were designed to supposedly, regress the cancer. 3 out of 4 died. The 4th was a 50-year-old or 40-year-old woman who was a serial chain smoker her whole life.
Right.
And she had about 3 months to live. They gave her this shot and extended her life by about 18 to 24 months.
Okay.
And when that news got out, the NIH and DARPA and the Obama administration went ape over this, because it turned out that MD Anderson with NIH was working on a mRNA shot that supposedly would address this kind of terminal cancer. The only difference was it was significantly more expensive to develop. It was developed in part with U.S. taxpayer funding. And what they found out was that in 2014, MD Anderson had been breached by a handful of Chinese military scientists who came in on NIH grants from China. They were all of them PLA officers. They lied about who they were to get in, and NIH had absolutely no standards. Now, my wife worked at NIH. My wife told me, she said, we didn't know who the F we were working with.
Wow.
That there were so many foreign, non-English speakers running God knows what, and we were told don't ask questions. And in fact, the NIH, there was a culture of not wanting to cooperate with FBI security checks on half of the, and more than half of these scientists. They just wanted to bring them in.
Really?
Yeah, it was
You're kidding me.
The MD Anderson breach is what changed that. They started to get serious about checking these individuals. After
wait,
that,
so
breach.
wait. Whoa. This is doing, I mean, it was in your book, but I read your book 2 years ago, and I don't think it really hit me until just now.
Yeah.
So you have all these idiots complaining about the Signal chat the other day.
I know.
They don't even know it was on. I don't even think that guy was on the chat. I think he made it up, clearly. But they're like, clearances. And the show I'm going to be on tomorrow, I told him, I said, I know everything about clearances, how the clearance system works. I did it for a long time. I was an SSO. I was a courier. But it's okay, though, if our chief adversary floods the zone
Literally,
of NIH.
Right.
The same place that was advising the pandemic and vaccine rollout.
Yeah.
And approved contracts for companies like,
that's right.
PMC and color.com. Are you familiar with them?
No, I'm not familiar with color.com.
Oh, yes. We'll have to talk about Color. So Color, I did not let my kid get the shot. We're in Massachusetts at the time. Color.com is a genomics company. Okay. And they were the ones that not only did the testing and had all of the school county contracts in the whole state. They not only did the testing, they administered the shot. They rode along with, and they collected all the sharps, all the DNA. I tracked that right back to BIG, Beijing Institute of Genomics.
Yeah.
It went from them to Germany to China.
So my theory, and I said this back in 2020 to 7 or 8 NSA senior people. Your audience, just to remind your audience, I do occasionally brief the Pentagon and other agencies on issues like this. Although I think
I'll let you remind them because I'm never sure what I can tell them.
I think Doge has killed that business, which is fine. I'm fine with that. So in 2020, I was briefing a mixed group of 3-lettered agencies, and there was a handful of NSA guys there. I brought up my theory as to why the Chinese were so fixated on NIH, particularly in that 2014 to 2018, 17 timeframe. At that time, as part of the Cancer Moonshot program, at that time, DARPA partnered with NIH. Now, DARPA is probably even more secure electronically than the NSA is. But I don't know for sure because obviously I can't access the server, so I don't know. But I said to these NSA guys when we were talking about this case study, I said, my theory is actually it was less about getting access to that really expensive cancer vaccine potential and then sending it back to be reverse engineered for cheaper and killing the marketeer. It's more that I think the Chinese military wanted to gain access to NIH servers to see if they could backdoor their way into DARPA systems.
Well, not only that, backdoor the way into HHS.
Yeah, but specifically, think about what DARPA does, right? DARPA, they build.
But wait, can you backdoor your way from NIH? Those are separate systems.
This is what. Well, but they were they were partnered now,
Right.
and they were sharing data, and they were sharing access, and people from NIH were being given access to the DARPA Research Center. For instance, my wife, when she was at NIH, they were posting her up at Naval Observatory. She was reporting to a Marine Corps general who was actually a DARPA guy, and that was through NIH. And they had kind of melded the chain of command to a degree. And so, my question, and I don't have any way of knowing this for sure, but I just kind of threw it back at these NSA guys, and they were very chatty the whole time until I brought that up. And then they wanted to move on from that. They didn't want to even address it.
Wait, but I don't understand. The NSA? Why?
Yeah.
I mean, why are they even involved? I mean, seriously, because it's like I know the NSA well.
I don't know.
It's a freaking nerd herd. They don't do real intelligence. They do technical intelligence.
They do technical intelligence, but they also have a role with cybersecurity.
I know.
So I'm just telling you.
Cybersecurity, DNA, transfer to the digital world. Okay, that makes sense. Okay,
so I can just tell you that this group of guys, they didn't want to talk about it. A couple of them were kind of, condescending, like, yeah, it's not what happened. I just think there's more to the Chinese interest in NIH beyond just we want to steal biotechnology capabilities from the Americans and then reverse engineer it and kill the market in America by producing a cheaper product. That's part of it. I think that, and there's a reason I think this, by the way, because if you remember, one of Biden's first presidential acts was to divorce NIH from DARPA. Do you remember that? He created, I think it's called ARPA.
ARPA.
Yeah. He created that in lieu of the fact, because DARPA was very angry about NIH. They were very upset. Now, the only reason I could think they would be very upset about NIH would be because if their operational security was somehow damaged by their partnership with NIH, which was forced on them, by the way, by the Obama administration.
Well, here's another thing, too, to consider. Like, they might have been interested in NIH, where NIH, because we know the way Fauci was throwing around power left and right.
Yes,
like
and money.
Yep, money and power. And people were scared of that guy, ever since the AIDS crisis. And so it sounds to me, and just from the look of it, a lot of it looks like NIH took a lot of mission away from DARPA. And if they take the mission away from DARPA, DARPA is going to have all the security. China's not stupid. You're going to want to get your people into the soft target, the low-hanging fruit. Let me give you an example. Like, I one time was able to socially engineer a guy to quit his job and move into a competitor of my client. The competitor hadn't come up yet as a competitor. So I moved him in ahead of time because we were doing the competitive intelligence for our client. And I moved him in there, and then there was no security, a small company. People always say the thing of like, why would anyone want to look at my computers? I have nothing to hide. And so then they came up, and I had a highly placed source and said,
this is the
and I will caveat say I did not violate the 1996 Economic Espionage Act in any way, shape, or form.
Well, this I'm reminded of John Sagronis's course in IWP, my master's program, Corporate Statecraft Intelligence. He had a whole course on teaching people how to do corporate espionage and corporate intelligence.
It's so easy.
Well, but it's scary though, because you think about it, these companies, in some cases, these tech firms, they have more power and capabilities than some small militaries do, and it's not very well protected.
It's not.
And so it makes them. I mean, I remember. In fact, I knew the guy because he went to IWP. I remember when the FBI in the Obama administration stood up their Silicon Valley operation to do specific counterintelligence directed against foreign espionage attempts to penetrate Silicon Valley startups. And they were very late to the game. This was 2014, 2015. They were very late to the game. But they created a dedicated counterintelligence arm in Silicon Valley. I remember one of the Air Force generals I used to brief. He always wore a suit and tie, never wore his uniform. Finally, I asked him, I I said, because I knew he was out west. I said, may I ask what base are you at? Edwards? What are you doing out west? He said, no, I'm assigned to Silicon Valley. So what do you mean you're assigned to Silicon Valley? He goes, I'm the Air Force liaison for Silicon Valley for Google. And I was like, I did not even know that was something that we were doing. And he was like, oh no, he goes, it's a new thing we're doing, a new initiative. He said, but I'm the first one that they're sending out there to kind of, help them navigate working with the Pentagon. And I just thought that was very interesting. I obviously somebody woke up and realized the soft underbelly is these private sector firms that have all these capabilities. And there's a reason that China is crawling all over this stuff, because they're just absorbing whatever they can get. And, I don't mean to go on a tangent here, but
no, tangent away. The nature of investigate everything is to explore every lead and tangent.
I just wrote about the smiling hippo. You know what the smiling hippo is?
I saw it on your thing. I didn't read it. I don't know what the smiling hippo is.
It's the Boeing X-32. Okay, so this was Boeing was racing with Lockheed Martin to win the contract to build the 5th generation multi-role fighter. Became the F-35.
Oh, is this the one that made the news with Trump and all that?
No, that's the new one. That's F-47. But this was back in the 90s. Back in the 80s and 90s, they were having their bidding race for the
X-32.
The X-32 Smiling Hippo. It was an ugly SOB plane. But everybody I spoke to said it was light years better than the F-35. And there it is. Now, if you look at that plane, and you look at the supposed, 6th generation Chinese variant that's been caught flying around. We talked about this at the National Interest the other day. It looks a lot like China has access to our archives and they're just taking the road not traveled. And the new 6th generation plane that's been flying all over Beijing and popping up all over.
What's the name of it?
If you Google, it's the White Emperor, but if you Google China 6th generation plane flying, you should have the video. China. If you look at it on Twitter, you might be able to find the video itself on Twitter. But it looks strikingly similar to the X-32, to the Boeing failed 5th generation plane. Now, I'm not saying you got it.
F-47. They said. Not the F-47. This is the Chinese J-36.
Might be the J-36 now. I can't keep up with it. They keep changing the name. But if it's not that, if you just type in 6th generation China plane, in fact, I'll do it. I'll get you the link because I just looked at it the other day.
You know how to put it in the private chat, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let me just 6th generation.
I think I got it. I'm trying to beat
Chinese plane flying. Okay, here we go. I got it.
Is that it?
Hold on. No, that one is that here. I'm going to give you yes, I'm sorry. That is one of them. But the one that I want to send you is the view from the bottom. It looks strikingly similar. Not exactly, but strikingly similar.
Okay, so on the right-hand side of your screen.
I just sent it to you.
Got it. Okay, good.
Can you get that or no?
No, I got it. It's spooling up.
Okay.
We actually have, it's actually snowing up here, so my internet is actually running extremely slow.
Oh no.
And I'm getting SpaceX.
I don't believe
do you have it?
No, John
it's terrible up here.
John Batchelor has been telling me to get it, and we've got it. Yeah, there it is. So if you look at that upper right-hand corner, it's not exact, but it looks very similar to the X-32. That's their
them and their really cheesy karaoke music in their military videos.
Yeah. There you go. But that looks strikingly similar to the X-32.
Sorry.
Oh, you good?
It does. It looks a lot like the Smiling Hippo.
And so, you know,
It totally does.
My theory is whether you're talking about aircraft or you're talking about biotech, they have seemingly complete access to everything we wanted to do and everything we want to do.
Well,
you know,
here's the thing. You know where most leaks happen, and we got to get back to. I know you got to go, but we have to get back to 23andMe. Because that's why everyone tuned in.
Well, this is all related. I mean, I know that people might not think, but this is.
No, I know. I think you and I think very similarly, and it drives Sean, who's a great guy, he's our creative director. It drives him crazy when he's trying to clip quotes from me from these videos. Because we got Drew over there. Drew's a great guy, but Drew is very practiced in his delivery. He's like, you know, and it's a really good show. It's the Millennial Minister of Truth.
Yeah, I've been on a few times.
Whereas
I
me,
can do that. It's just when I'm with you,
I'm more like you.
I tend to kind of just chill out and kind of just wow.
That's the point, man. Yeah. Because this is how you. I mean, like, think about how many leads we have jumped on in this conversation from each other.
Yeah.
So that's important. And, you know, honestly, like, I wish the intelligence agencies did more of this, because they don't do that anymore. Like, everything is there's no predictive intelligence anymore.
Well, they're too closed off. They're too
so closed off, you know. And but I wanted to say, like, a major probably a major security gap, I would say, is honestly the marketplace. And this is where you know, DoD contractors really are a security vulnerability to.
Snowden was.
Yeah, totally. He was Booz Allen Hamilton. I can't go into Snowden because, like, literally, I will get so much hate from everyone that just thinks Snowden's this hero. I don't think he was a hero.
I don't think he was lying, though.
No, I don't think he was lying at all, but it was a very I mean, I guess I had a clearance since I was 18, so I thought it was well known, but I mean, I knew, like, the whole, all these systems, like, so
but that's what I always tell people about WikiLeaks, about Snowden is, you know, it's a sticky wicket, because I don't think that what they were reporting was false. It's just in the case of Snowden, you know, he took an oath and he, you know.
Okay, let's do it. You know, honestly, I've been, you know, harboring this in secret.
He blocked me a while ago on Twitter.
Really? Maybe he'll block me.
He went out of the way to block me.
Maybe he'll block me.
And it's funny because the Russians love me. The Russians absolutely love me, by the way.
They love me too.
I mean,
dude, I got an invite from today.
Who?
I got an invite for citizenship to Liberland.
What is that?
You've never heard of Liberland?
Oh, no.
I thought everyone heard of Liberland. That's why they need me.
I've heard of Fredonia. You know.
No. Liberland's a real thing. Okay. And I'm not mocking that. I actually like these guys. You know, it's quite a monumental task they're trying to do, but it's a small plot of land out in Eastern Europe, and they established it as Liberland. So I used to be a headliner at European Students for Liberty. You familiar with them?
Yeah, I know them. Yeah.
I used to.
But yeah, I know who they are.
Yeah, so I used to love speaking to these kids, especially the kids from, like, you know, Georgia and Macedonia and all these places, because they knew more about, like, our history and our politics than most of our kids do.
That's for sure.
Yeah, so I used to give a presentation between 2012 and 2015, 16 across all of the, you know, former Soviet Union, called How to Spy on Spies. Teaching them how to do counter espionage, because all of their governments are spying on them, and it's and not like, you know, and that's what people here don't realize. They're like, everyone's so focused on cyber, like, that's why guys like me can always get clients, because you want intel, I'll get you intel, because no one's paying attention to me. You know,
nobody knows how to talk to people either. You know,
and that's why. But, you know, James O'Keefe, his outfit, they've done really well.
Yes, it's a classic intelligence. Yeah.
Oh, I know the guy who taught him how to do that stuff, and he used to work with me. I won't go too far into detail, but we met in the Philippines. I was in Special Forces. He was in another agency, And so, yes.
Abu Sayyaf's territory.
Abu Sayyaf, yes, I was there when we mowed down Abu Sabaya from a drone. I got to watch it live. It was great to see his glowing meat floating in, the waters outside of Barcelona. Those bunch of jerks, man. He used to start his radio show with "Welcome to the party," like he was so cool. It's like, bunch of cowards. They just they hid out like the minute first special forces got there to Zamboanga.
Yeah,
they hid. And then we caught. Okay, sorry. We had there. Look, everyone sees the liberals are idiots. They are classic examples of people that spend too much time in their heads and on movies and have this romantic idea of everything.
Yeah,
and they have this romantic idea of Muslim fundamentalists. They're just drug dealers.
Right.
And pedophiles. And I know this because I used to kill them and catch them and interrogate them and whatever, figuratively, just so there's no lawsuits. But the point is, we'd catch these guys and they were always heroin addicts. They were always tripping on something I'd never even heard of. To the point, you'll like this, we caught a guy who was named, you might know this guy, or know of this guy. His name was Commander Robot.
This is like from.
I'm not making this up.
This is like from that Tom Cruise movie, Thunder.
Dude, I'm not making it up.
You know what I'm talking about? The comedy where he played the one of the.
Yes.
Flaming Dragon. Yeah.
Tropic Thunder.
Tropic Thunder. That was it.
Yeah. So no, there was a guy, but look, when you're hunting. Keep in mind, this is right after 9/11. This is serious stuff. Like, we went out to Zamboanga because that's the area of operations for that group that I was in. Honestly, though, I think we focused on Abu Sayyaf because they sounded more Muslim.
Yes.
And I think we didn't go after the Moro Islamic Liberation Front because no one wanted to say MILF on TV too many times. That's good. Hey, kids are asleep. It's a late night show. But no, it's funny because the MILF, the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, it's a real thing, still around. They had like 3,200 guys. They had to order a battle echelon. I'm not making it up. It's a real thing.
Weren't they the ones who took over the island in 2016?
Yes, they're huge.
Yeah.
I'm like, why aren't we going after these guys?
Yeah.
And it's never going to go after the 49 members of,
well, I thought Abu Sayyaf, though, had some connection to Al Qaeda, which is.
Yes, Gaddafi John Jalani, who was the leader of Abu Sayyaf group. Went to Afghanistan summer camp when he was like 18 and trained for a month with Osama bin Laden's people, which, if you know, that means rich kids that get to go over there from Saudi and all the rich Muslim kids that used to go over, and then they would fire an AK-47 that way, and then they would tell them, you just shot at some Russians. I'm not making it up. That's really. Have you ever read The Bin Ladens by Michael Cole? Yeah, it's a great book.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I actually met Michael Cole.
I did too.
In Chicago, at an event for the Chicago Council on Global Affairs back when I was a dirty neocon.
That's a great voice. You were a neocon when I met you, man.
Yeah. No. I was well past. Oh, no, I was well past that phase. That was good 15 years ago.
I'm just giving you a hard time. Okay, just for the record, no, I can't call up Wikipedia because I always curse them out. But no, it's a real thing. I'm sorry. I just have to get this because I don't want Naomi to see this in the morning and saying, hey, you're on Daily Cloud and people might get the wrong idea. It's a real thing. Damn it. I can't find any decent sources though, because everyone has anyways, really quickly, let's go back to 23andMe. There's people, a lot of people here, the audience is growing. That's good. So they must like what we're saying, but, 23andMe. So they go bankrupt. I noticed they changed their, terms of service 10 days before they announced the bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Your opinion, you're incredible analyst. You're like, you're better than me. But I would say we look at things, we zoom in, we zoom out, we see the way things connect. What's going on here? What do you think this is about?
Well, I think they're going bankrupt.
Sure, but why?
Well, it's probably because they're folding up this operation. I think there might be some degree of this has gotten too big and too many people know about it now. I mean, a lot of people are asking questions, and I'm not the first one to have asked questions about this when I was researching the book. What I found when I was researching Biohacked is that, in fact, the director of national intelligence for Trump, John Ratcliffe at the time, who's now CIA director, was giving closed briefings to the House and Senate intelligence committees saying this is a threat. The FBI, and I'm very critical of the FBI, but much to their credit, in 2019, they did entire briefings in skiffs on Capitol Hill. In fact, the FBI ASAC in Boston was so obsessed with the threat of Chinese biohacking using these companies like 23andMe as a front, that she broke protocol and wrote an op-ed in the Boston Globe basically warning people, because she didn't feel like her warnings were being taken seriously enough in DC, going through official channels, basically warning people that, hey, this stuff, don't give your DNA because this could be used. In fact, the FBI was trying to get institutionalized, and I think they might have, standards for potential agents to be disallowed from basically getting a job with the FBI if they have given their DNA. There was a whole movement. So I'm not the first person to ask questions about this. And so what I think is going on at 23andMe is possibly they're folding up shop because maybe this got too much heat now. Another thing I will just say, and I think you mentioned this at the beginning, biotech in many respects is the next great industry. But it's very similar to me to the .com, era. But what do we know about the .com bubble is that, yes, eventually there were a handful of companies that came out and just have done incredibly, but there were thousands of companies that were formed and failed. And even though something like 23andMe is basically a front in many respects for these Chinese firms seeking to gain access to our data, it still is on some level subject to market forces, especially when operating outside of China. And right now, the biotech sector in general is going through a very bizarre, unanticipated contraction. There's a lot of biotech startups that are failing.
Why is that, though? I mean, if it's... Well, I think there's still so much uncharted territory in the science.
Well, I think that's the key. And I think there's also been, let's just face it, global backlash to, for instance, mRNA, which many were banking on mRNA being sort of like this thing that was going to, send biotech into the stratosphere. I think people are, ever since COVID, having second thoughts about...
Wait. God, everything you talk about connects to every single thing. I've been trying to stay out of the atmosphere and the stratosphere and the sky, because all of my wife's followers are always sending me stuff about clouds, and I'm like, I believe you. I just don't have time to research it, And then she's constantly telling me about, look, this is not natural. This is not natural. If they're here on this podcast, Brandon, what's going on with the sky really quickly?
The sky?
I know you know everything. What are they? Are they putting things in the sky?
So,
and you could give it as an opinion.
Well, no, I'm just trying to think how I say this, because this is one of those questions where it's it's not an easy answer. So a lot of what people see, because you have to understand, I'm kind of like an aerospace nerd. I write a lot about airplanes. I love airplanes. I love aircraft, spacecraft. A lot of what people see in the air are actually contrails, not chemtrails. They are the heat of a jet engine flying at a very high altitude, going very fast, hitting the freezing cold air of the upper atmosphere, creates those white lines behind jets. Now, there is an entire industry that exists for what we would call cloud seeding. and this has been going on for a long time.
For a long time, sure.
Long time. And so, you know, I'm not going to say everything you see in the air is sanguine. I will also say today in Tallahassee, I live in Florida, today in Tallahassee, they passed a law that bans cloud seeding in the state of Florida.
That's interesting.
And the witness that they brought in, the Democrats, who are the minority, brought in, he's like a 20 some odd year old startup, you know, leader. His firm does cloud seeding, and he was there. And you know what? I can pull it up, and you can look at it later, I guess. But it's on my Twitter. I think I posted it this morning. I thought, but basically, this young
Valkyrie has a comment for you.
Okay, hold on.
It's on the screen.
Oh, don't believe me. About what?
No, I think she put that before you continued on.
Oh, about the
sky? The chemtrails contrast.
Yeah, well, that's fine. Don't believe me. But
it's this is a good audience. She's just, you know, this is how how they all get me to talk more.
It does dissipate, though. I mean, that's the thing. They do dissipate.
Now, let me ask you this. So there was something on Twitter the other day.
You know how many? Let me just clarify.
Yeah, go ahead.
Something like anywhere between 1 million and 5 million people are airborne on any given day.
Mm-hmm.
So think about the number of jet airplanes that are flying.
He is addressing you directly. Go ahead.
Think about the number of airplanes that are flying over our head any given time at multiple different altitudes. So I'm not denying that there's cloud seeding. In fact, I believe fully that there is. That's why my state just banned.
Well, I mean, farmers have cloud seeded for decades.
That's right. So I'm not denying that. And I'm not denying that there's not nefarious things. We know that Bill Gates is up to no good when it comes to, you know, his operation with cloud seeding. All I'm saying is I don't think the majority of what you're seeing in the sky is cloud seeding. I think you're probably seeing
that's an important distinction to make.
Contrails from aircraft, and military aircraft too, by the way. Especially, you can tell when there's an F-16 flying overhead. You can tell when a B-52 is flying overhead. Anyway.
Well, all right. So I want to show you this. I know you know this. I was surprised you didn't. I'm surprised you didn't remember this document I sent you 2 years ago. No, what bothers me about the 23andMe thing and all of this stuff is, you know, our government knows. USCC, that committee that was formed, they put out a whole report about this, and 23andMe was mentioned in it.
Yeah.
And so for those who want to know, like, this is when I was first starting I never researched this stuff as a civilian because I didn't have time. You know, I had a job and then all my clients went away because all my clients were Native American and I wasn't allowed on their reservation when the pandemic hit because I could be a disease bomb. And great people, don't get me wrong, but you know, I had a great contract. It was good. And then they were like, "Oh, you can't come on without the vaccine." And it's to your bio research and your bio targeting research. I'll send you the stuff, but like the first thing I did is I pulled a bunch of stuff from listings from usajobs.opm.gov when the pandemic started. There were so many jobs listed for like researchers for NIH and CDC but all for Indian reservations.
Yeah, well, they're running experiments out there.
Totally, right? You know,
I mean, this is not new. I mean, the Native American population is one of the most abused populations.
But here's the thing, like here's the thing, it's like, and you're right, it all connects. And I'll send you a copy of it. So I worked out in the Yakima Indian Reservation. It's like a 4 million acre reservation. It's massive. And I worked there for 4 years, and I had free run of the place. It was great. Working for the largest company on there, I always called them like Pablo Escobar, except without the crime, evil, and murder, I think. But so I worked for them. They own all the gas stations, all of the timber, all of the concrete, and massive company, great people to work for. So what I noticed was, and we were targeting people from other reservations that were trying to undermine their business, sneaking onto the reservation. It was pretty great job. And I'll never forget the mail of my target. He got his mail and just kind of littered in in the downtown area of Yakima with an I. There's Yakima with an A and Yakima with an I. The one with the A is the reservation. The one with the I is the U.S. side, just because some general misspelled it on the treaty. True story. So he just throws his mail out, and I get this thing, and it's for the 2020 elections. Mm. And it says, your choices for the 2020 elections. And they're all Democrats.
Yeah, well, Native Americans vote overwhelmingly Democrat.
Right, but I'm not saying they're isolated. They're certainly not. And my company did really well, but the majority of that reservation is pretty poor. They don't go to outside sources for information. They have what they call, my favorite intelligence network out there was the Gossip Network.
Yeah.
And so go ahead.
Most Native American tribes lived off of the oral tradition. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that doesn't surprise me either. That's sort of,
Well, what was scary is that, like, the lobbyists out there, they were doing the delivery boy routine for the pharmaceutical companies via CDC. And it was amazing because some of the bigger companies out there, they were having vaccine festivals and lotteries to win bigger prizes. It is disgusting.
Yeah.
And, I had to leave because I told them, I love you guys. I really did. Because it's when you do business with Native Americans, like at the level I did, it's not like normal business. It's kind of like you've got to get accepted. You have to share something personal about yourself, like talk about your family or something. They want you over for dinner. There's a whole thing. And that's where I was. And it was really sad because I said, I'm never going to get that shot. I wish you guys won it.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, and I could feel them start leaning towards that kind of, what we see with the crazy left now. They never went all the way there because they have some isolation, but I could feel them getting a little defensive, like, who do you work for? And so I had to go to maintain our friendship, which I maintain today. So with that said, the whole point of that is back to your bio-targeting, and then we have all the DNA data going back to China instantly. Really quickly, can you address deleting your data and all these people putting out videos?
You can't
That's
delete
what I thought, right?
It's like, trying to close the barn door after the horses have gotten out. The whole point is,
have you seen all these videos people are putting out?
Yeah,
delete your data.
Yeah, it's stupid. The bottom line is, it's the business model in general when you're talking about tech. This is how Zuckerberg got rich. This is how Peter Thiel got rich off of Facebook. Because remember, he was an investor. This is how Elon Musk is getting rich off of X. The reason he was willing to pay $44 billion wasn't just because he wanted a free speech app. It's also because he wanted that data. They wanted the user data that they could then sell, they could then trade, they can then give to advertising companies who will pay premium for that, because all that data goes into a digital profile. Right. It's the same thing with biotech firms. Instead of your personal information, they're getting your DNA, which is even more important. Right. And they want to do what social media did in the previous 2 decades with personal data. The biotech firms, whether it's American for-profit or Chinese, whatever the Chinese are doing, the point is they want to get access to your data, and they want the most amount of your data, DNA data, biological data, in order to sell it to the highest bidder. And in China's case, it's the added thing of using it for national military operations, specific ethnic genetic attack.
So when you say that, you're talking about 23andMe?
Well, 23andMe.
Because who's the highest? I'm like, I know what China can use it for, but like, what would anyone else want it for? Because I mean,
well, think about it for where advertising is going over the next 50 years. Think of I'm trying to think, what is the movie Minority Report? If you remember that 2002 film, Tom Cruise, very good movie, great short
movie.
Story by Philip K. Dick. It's based off of that. But one of the side things it's a recurring scene throughout the film is whenever they're walking in public, their little thing is scanned, And suddenly personally tailored ads start popping up based on things that the character has purchased in the past or whatever, to trying to advertise for them.
And that was way ahead of its time.
But Steven Spielberg said that. I remember when I loved the movie when I saw it, and I remember I watched a behind the scenes thing back when DVDs were a thing, and I remember he
still a thing in the O'Shea house.
I remember Spielberg said that part of getting ready for the movie when they were writing the script was he actually researched things like where modern advertising was thinking things were going to be by the year 2030, 2040. So we're on track for something like that. Well, it isn't just about getting your purchasing history. Think about it. If an advertiser had access to your genetic and medical history, we already live in a land where pharmaceutical companies advertise for everything on our TVs. Just imagine what they could do, finding out, oh, you have a predisposition for diabetes. Oh, you have a predisposition for whatever based on your genetic coding. We can now start advertising directly. So we go from China-specific ethnic genetic attacks to you name your favorite advertising firm doing specific ad targeting for the pharmaceutical companies based on your...
So just swap out the ads, like instead of weapons ads.
That's right, exactly.
And like, is it Danny Cheng, the Chinese comedian, I think, on Netflix?
Oh, yeah.
Funny as hell. But he said, you know, he's Chinese, and he's like, we're all about money. He's like, and if you don't believe me, he's like, we have a god for money, you know, and so it's a really funny act. But I want to really share this because I don't want the audience going away. And when you have to hop off, just tap out.
Probably like 3 or 4 minutes. I mean,
okay, let me just read this, and then I'll let you have a final word, and then I'll get you on your way because I know you're tired. I know that chess match today was a real killer. So, I was thinking, you know why I said that is because I just watched Revenge of the Nerds the other day. like a bunch of them, I just played them in the background.
Lambda.
Well, remember, I think it was the second one, and he has a sling. Oh yeah, I saw.
So fun little story. Steve Zacharias is the writer of that movie. Steve was in college at DePaul University. He was one of my professors because I was dabbling in screenwriting before I went full board.
You're a man of many talents.
And Steve was trying to set me up with his good friend. He told me, he goes, Brandon, drop the F in politics. He goes, nobody wants a Republican. He goes, just give it up, man. He said, I can set you up with, what's his name? Ari Emanuel. He goes, he's a good friend of mine. I can get you working with him. He goes, you'll be making big money in no time. You got the personality to be one of the creative guys. He goes, come on, let's do it. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do it.
The way you do that voice sounds just like my buddy John Buffalo Mallor.
Steve was like Larry David. He looked like Larry David, but he didn't talk a lot like Larry David. But Steve wrote Revenge of the Nerds, and that was actually because I got to know him. I liked him a lot. I actually rented the movie and I watched it, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is hilarious!" And so,
they're pretty good, right?
Yeah, I only saw the first one though. I never saw the second one.
Better basic.
Steve also wrote for, if you have young kids, he also wrote Sister Act with Whoopi Goldberg. That was another one of his movies. Yeah.
Can't do it. Back then, I'm glad I watched it before she became a total demon monster from
I
hell.
actually used to think it was because I was a Star Trek nerd. I used to think it was really a shame they didn't do more with her character on Next Generation, and now I'm glad that they didn't do a lot with her because she's a psychotic.
She's a sellout, dude. I mean that's the sad thing about it. It's like I grew up on Whoopi Goldberg, it's a real shame, and they she's not the greatest actress.
No.
So she has a really clear baseline, and I can tell when she's lying because she goes away from that baseline. She does this thing where she does this with her head.
Well, the whole thing with her and actresses and actors like her is they're banking on a perceived likability factor. And people forget that in the 90s, Whoopi Goldberg had a likability factor because a lot of people didn't really know her politics. As soon as these people start getting into politics, it's the reverse of what Zacharias told me. As soon as these Democrats start outing themselves, it doesn't matter how rich they are or how successful they are, people get turned off. They don't want to hear it.
Well, and Shapiro was talking about this the other day. I tune in every now and then to him. Like I like to bounce around, and for context, I tune into Morning Joe every now and then because I want to see how they're messaging. But the he mentioned the reason why Tom Cruise is so iconic and remains so is because you only ever see him on a screen.
Right. Well, that's the same thing with James Gandolfini, by the way.
Yeah.
He's dead. James Gandolfini got in a lot of hot water because there was some controversy with The Sopranos. I don't remember what it was, but they said, "Why don't we ever hear from you when when you're doing a movie? We hear from you. We never hear from you between." He said, "I don't want to be a part of that."
Okay, so let me read this to you really quickly. That's a good reference. And by the way, the reason I even brought up Revenge of the Nerds before you totally hijacked my story is. The head nerd, he shows up and he has a cast, and the girl says, what happened? And he says, it was a chess tournament.
Yeah.
And she's like, she crinkles her nose. And he goes, it was a really tricky move. All right.
Yeah.
So let me just read this to you because I could probably see it better than you. And, but okay, so this is from the U.S.-China Biotech Report. This is from the, USCC by Griffin Scientific. USCC, what's that stand for again, Brandon? It's a U.S. Senate Committee on China.
The USCC, yes, Senate Committee, I think, on China.
So this is 2019.
I was just a lowly House staffer. They didn't let me in the cool Senate side.
I was the cool, non-Native American intelligence private contractor for a massive family of awesome people. Chasing their enemies, even cattle rustlers. That's what I was doing before the pandemic. I loved it. Channels of access to U.S. healthcare data. I know you've read this. I'm reading this for the audience.
Yes, this is the one. Yes.
Chinese companies are entering the U.S. healthcare market in two ways. Everyone bear in mind, again, this was written in 2019 and submitted to the Senate as part of the committee. Okay. So they're getting into our healthcare market in two major ways: via mergers, acquisitions, and other investment vehicles, and through partnerships with U.S. healthcare providers and research institutes. While some companies use these partnerships to access facilities with licensing and accreditation necessary to perform clinical tests on patients in the U.S., others have acquired that accreditation. I always have trouble with that word, accreditation, late at night, directly. Though through these partnerships and accreditations, Chinese firms gain access to U.S. medical and healthcare data, just like Brandon said, which may create security and scientific risks. Globally, these types of data are protected at varying levels, and the U.S. appears to protect data less rigorously than the EU or China. That is true. This section describes some of the relationships Chinese. So this is the part that ties into the show. So Chinese investment in U.S. healthcare data companies. And it's interesting that they list it as a healthcare data company, not a genealogy company in this official report. Chapter 3 describes some of the M&A, mergers and acquisitions, for people that don't know, and VC, venture capitalists, investments Chinese firms have made in U.S. genomic sequencing companies and other firms that handle healthcare-related data. Such investments provide the Chinese investing firms with rich sources of healthcare-related information, just like you said, Brandon. Prominent examples include, in 2013, BGI, that's Beijing Genomics
Institute.
But aren't they in Boston?
Yeah, Boston's a huge hub in general for genomics research.
BGI acquired U.S. sequencing company Complete Genomics, and through that gained a proprietary sequencing technology and a base of operations in the U.S. See box 3 earlier, this report. I'll post this report. You guys can all read it. In 2015, pronounce that for me.
I can't see it.
WUXI.
Wuji
Pharmatech acquired the U.S. firm Nextcode Health for $65 million. Then merged with Nextcode Health and the Wuji Genome Center into a new subsidiary called Wuji and Reykjavik. I can never pronounce their capital. I'm going there next week.
Reykjavik?
Thank you. Reykjavik.
Oh, I've always wanted to go to Iceland. I think we should be absorbing that after we get Greenland.
Definitely. Reykjavik, Iceland. Through the acquisition of the genome sequence analysis platform of Nextcode, Health was brought together with the next generation sequencing capabilities of the WuXi Genome Center, greatly increasing WuXi's access to CLIA. What's that mean?
CLIA, I don't
certified facilities.
I can't even see it.
WuXi's access, in context, greatly increasing WuXi's access to CLIA certified facilities and enabling them to broaden their footnote. I'll get to that later. Yeah. Okay, got it. I don't know what it means. It doesn't matter. It will matter. So,
hold on.
CLI certified facilities and enable
certified laboratory.
Certified laboratory.
Hold on.
Okay, it's gonna drive me crazy too. It's the only problem with doing a late night show. We would both be like popping this off at 9 in the morning.
Easily. Clinical Laboratory Improvement Amendments of 1988, which is a federal law that sets quality standards for all lab testing. That's what I thought it was. Testing performed on human specimens to ensure accurate and reliable results. And it's managed through the Centers for Medicaid Services.
Oh my God. I'm glad we looked it up. So let me read that again. Through the acquisition, the genome sequence analysis platform of Nextcode Health was brought together with next-generation sequencing capabilities of the WuXi Genome Center, greatly increasing WuXi's access to CLIA-certified facilities and enabling them to broaden their customer base to U.S. doctors and patients. Here it goes. Also in 2015, WuXi Healthcare Ventures contributed $10.45 million to a $115 million venture capital round e-financing of 23andMe. We don't even know who the other investors are. They're probably other Chinese companies. The funding allowed 23andMe to expand operations, maximize their direct-to-consumer product.
Yep.
What a coincidence. And invest in new laboratory spaces. However, WuXi Healthcare Ventures, and WuXi Pharmatech are not listed as research collaborators with 23andMe, meaning they would not have access to genomic databases as per 23andMe's research participation policies. Oh, well, thank God they had a policy so they can access it.
Let's just keep in mind in terms of the data issue, and I bring this up in the book. Reuters did a great multi-part investigation of this in 2019. It was revealed that trisomy Y, which is a big-time prenatal genetic test to determine if your baby is going to be sick or if it has Down syndrome, whatever, that was banned by the Trump administration in the United States. You could not do this test because it was produced by BGI, Beijing Genomics Institute. And Europe was the number one purchaser of this product. Now, the European Union, which is a regulatory nightmare, in order for China to be able to sell this product in Europe, they had to basically agree to a bunch of things. And one of the things was that the DNA collected of the mother and the unborn child would be discarded as soon as the test result was done. What was determined? And it was Poland. Poland was the leading European country that used the trisomy Y test kit from Beijing Genomics Institute.
Oh, that is disgusting.
What they found, beyond a shadow of a doubt, the Reuters report, what they found was that all of the genetic data collected on the unborn children and the mothers was folded into that aforementioned largest genomics database in Beijing that I was talking about before.
Isn't that part of B? Is that part of B's? So when I say BIG, I'm talking not BGI.
I know.
So isn't that the one that is that BIG?
No, BIG has a role as well. Now, just so your audience understands, Beijing Institute of Genomics is a research. It's like an academic research institute that's part of the Chinese Academy of Sciences. Beijing Genomics Institute is a technically for-profit company that produces things like this trisom Y test. Now, BGI and I believe the Beijing Institute of Genomics, which is the research hub, they're both heavily involved with this database. CAS oversees the database. The PLA, the People's Liberation Army, their scientific arm, has a role in managing this database. And I'm pretty sure both BIG and BGI are heavily involved with inputs with this database.
I downloaded a lot of the database from BIG back in 2021 before they shut it down. So I'll try to pull those up.
That was Major General Chen Wai who ordered that shut down. She is
really?
They call her, you know what her nickname was the Goddess of War. So anyway.
Lots of these.
Yeah. So
these things go away. And by the way, did you notice that Trump, right when his last term, like before 2020, sorry to cut you off, he kept saying, he kept mentioning the word big in a speech about biowarfare, and it was seemed out of place. I think he was talking about Beijing Institute of Genomics.
It probably was. He was getting briefed on it. Ratcliffe was briefing him on it. I know that for a fact. And so, he was probably receiving inputs on this. The key thing here to remember in terms of what we do, we can't delete the data. The data is already there. They're not getting rid of it. And in fact, this was the reason I brought this up, the trisom Y, is because the EU filed official complaints based on the Reuters reporting. And basically, Beijing told them to stuff it. And this is the same Beijing, of course. China is the same country where it is a national security law that no foreign company is allowed to collect genomic data on their own citizens in China. Yet Chinese firms are allowed to go around the world and collect genomic data on foreign populations. And so it's a double standard. So that your data is gone. It's in China. They're not letting it go. They're going to use it for these specific ethnic genetic experiments they want to do. Here's the deal, though. In the book, I have an outline, talk about hope, and this is how we can end it. Here's the hopeful thing. The book, I talk about how Trump's tech war in his first term, when he was preventing China from gaining access to things like high-end semiconductors, that is a model for going forward specifically with the biotech sector as it relates to China. Now, oddly enough, and I think this was, I don't want to get into it, but Trump, about a month ago, went on a rant about how the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act is useless and blah, blah, blah. And he wasn't going to use it. That was a huge mistake on his part. The Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, it's a very simple solution. Basically, we should be, and I pitched this to Rand Paul in 2019. He liked it. COVID then hit, and it went nowhere. But basically, the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, if we change the definition of tech transfers, which is how China gets a lot of access to Western technology, is basically they lure Western tech firms to come to China with the promise that they will have exclusive access to that billion-plus person market. And every tech startup in Silicon Valley wants access to that. So part of the deal, though, is in order to get access, they've got to open up their crown jewels and give over trade secrets to Chinese firms, who will then take that information and use it to build the competitor to those American tech firms in the long run, ultimately displacing them. But in the near term, they don't care because that firm's going to make a lot of money. So what I argued doing is, when it comes to biotech in particular, any U.S. biotech firm that does tech transfer to China to gain access to that market, you classify that as a bribe under the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. It's not going to stop the practice entirely, but a lot of those smaller companies are not going to have the wherewithal to go against the Department of Justice, who will be enforcing this new rule. So that will cut down on the tech transfers, and it will slow China's ability to steal our biotech information and our biotech innovations. The other thing is CFIUS, the Committee for Investment in the United States. That is a DOJ committee, and their entire mission is to review foreign purchases of American properties, whether it's real estate, whether it's biotech firms, semiconductor, whatever. CFIUS has to be used much more vociferously to go after Chinese firms and related and subsidiaries of Chinese firms who are trying to buy U.S. biotech firms in the United States. Stop those sales completely. That's what CFIUS can do. CFIUS did it in 2012 to the Fairchild Semiconductor Company, which was trying to sell itself to a Chinese firm, Huawei, which had they done that, they would have already had high-end semiconductor chips by now in China. But CFIUS stopped it. And so this is one of the things that we could be doing. Foreign Corrupt Practices Act plus CFIUS. And then it would be great if Trump modeled a sort of what he did with the Artemis Accords, which is the new treaty that he negotiated in his first term for managing development of the moon and the resources there. It was a multi-country.
That's the name.
Yeah. If he did something similar at the international level with biotech, where basically we created agreed upon enforceable metrics for monitoring and policing wanton biotech development, because the side effects, even if it's unintended, even if it's not related to this race between China and America for dominance in the biotech sector, you could do a lot of damage with unfettered biotech R&D exploration, cutting corners and whatnot. So we need at the international level a set of treaties or a treaty creating a framework that at least most of the world will agree to. And those countries that won't, we can identify as saying, hey, look, these guys are rogue actors. And then we can use that to enforce even more curbs on sending technology and sharing information on biotech with those non-compliant countries.
Very smart, Brendan. And it makes a lot of sense. And even if it's a weaponizational thing, you can actually bomb them.
Right.
If you need to.
Right. There's a whole litany of things you could do that follow on from these things. So I don't know if Trump's going to do it. Trump, they don't listen to me.
They listen to you, Brandon.
Yeah, no, they do.
They got to take out the law firms first.
Yeah, no, they do listen to me, but a lot of them hold grudges, and we'll just leave it at that.
The party is calming down now. It's business time. And it's like someone close to me was like, I'm getting the runaround from AHA. What's going on with that? And I said, honestly, first 100 days is you don't want to be messing around in there. Everyone's running around trying to, jockey for position. Just let it calm down, and then go in there. Let me put up your stuff so people can find it. Yeah, you have to go. Okay, so this is where you find best place to find Brandon is right here because he has all his links there. He's on X at @WeTheBrandon. If you want to learn more in depth in a very, very well written form that is so well sourced, it's amazing. But I love the way Brandon writes because you don't get lost in a sentence. It's very Hemingway with just a little Steinbeck in there, and there. I thought you'd like that.
Even though I hate John Steinbeck, but thank you.
What? I love John Steinbeck. That's my favorite writer outside of Cormac McCarthy. I started my adult life in Monterey. What do you expect? So anyways, check out Biohacked, check out Winning Space, check out Shadow War, and let me point something out here to you. And of course, check out A Disaster of Our Own Making about Ukraine.
It's pinned a tweet on my page.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. That's good.
But I hope you guys catch the fact that this man is writing books about space wars. This man's writing a book about Iran, and he's writing book in the Middle East. He's writing books about bio-war from China, and then he's writing about what the hell's going on in his great book, How We Lost Ukraine. He was once called the Rain Man of international geopolitics on a space I was on with him. I felt bad when the guy said that, but you didn't seem to mind.
I don't
But you have to read this guy. I have
kids,
I have all your books now.
Cool you are, So
no, honestly, no, that's the new cool now. Though that's the thing. Like, I'm sitting there and it's like I'm glad that like it's come back around to like. Look, I was being made fun of by not made fun of, but like my own wife would like change the subject back in 2014 when I met her. If I said China, what are you worried about Russia for? Why aren't you worried about China? Like, what are you worried about? We got to look at China. And she now admits very openly on many podcasts she's on. She's like, yeah, he was telling me all the time since 2014, China. And I was like, no, it's Russia. Because she was, in Manhattan.
Yeah.
And now I just kept piling the stuff on her desk. So, Brandon, that's what you do. And that's what I like that you do, especially with your writing and your articles. You just keep charging forward and it's drip, drip, drip. You're going to get through that day. And because your policy opinions and directions, I think are really great.
Well, thank you.
You've taught me a lot
tonight. Steve Bannon actually, he repeatedly praised my work. So I mean that was a high honor, and Rush Limbaugh before he died.
Did Steve Bannon praise your work before or after you supported DeSantis?
That was before, and
Okay.
now I can't even. He won't even return my my text messages. So
but honestly, like if you're not in the news cycle, he's not going to. That's just
no doubt. But there are plenty of DeSantis people working for Trump right now, so it's time to move on. So.
Yeah, what I will say this: I like Steve Bannon. I've met him several times.
I do too.
I know you do, but I will say this: one thing I do really like about Steve Bannon, in addition to his incredibly effective weaponized podcast, which is awesome, The War Room. It's never about him.
Right.
That's what I like. There's so many of these conservatives, dare I say the binder bimbos, who are all about them.
It's a grift.
Yeah, and his is not, because he already has money. He's not making money off the podcast. So, Brandon, you got to go. I appreciate your patience.
Sir. Have a good night.
Oh, whoa. Actually, you can't go yet. I guess one more thing. Sorry. I hate to do this to you. But just so people don't think I'm a bad person, let me just share this. Right? Just in case anyone didn't believe me, there is a terrorist group out there called the MILF.
I love it. This is like Tropic Thunder.
They're huge. They're giant. They're like 3,200 people, way bigger than FSIF.
I never, it's funny. I have talked about them before. I have never put that together, that acronym.
Dude, I was a bunch of dudes in special forces. We put it together right away.
So funny.
The MILF. We're going to go fight the MILF. We shouldn't be fighting the MILF. We should be embracing the MILF. And honey, I'm talking about the Moro Islamic Liberation Front. If you're listening, darling, talking to my wife, not to Brandon. So, anyways, Brandon, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm going to stay on.
Yep.
No need to wait backstage. Go take care of your
I'm getting
thing.
out of here. Bye-bye.
All right. Talk to you later. Appreciate it.
Yep.
I'll put out your stuff.
Okay. Bye.
All right. Bye. Okay. Well, that was Brandon Weichert. Always love having him on. He's the guy's a genius. And he's constantly learning more. I have trouble keeping up with him. He's just, I really love reading his books. I always pick his brain off camera. Like, how do you go about doing your research? Because I'm a great researcher. My problem is I try to research too many things. He finds a way to research about a dozen things really deeply all at once. And it's amazing. And he writes, he produces, he's really an amazing guy. And he's a new dad too. So, I always love talking to him. It was very motivating. And, and even though like what we're talking about tonight is terrible, like, what's going on with 23andMe is a big deal. It's a big deal. And it's not good. If you have read the stuff or you research yourself, and, I know the regular people on the show do, and I appreciate that. You always feel better, even though you might not find a good answer, you might not find a happy ending. One thing I've realized through doing investigations, through doing intelligence work, and I think it's what's drawn me to it, is because transparency feels better than being in the dark. Even if what you see is horrible, better to see it, know it, so you can start learning how to fight it. That would have been a great ending, but I cannot ignore all these comments. So let me get to it. So Ernie, I did show that to him. I don't know if he responded to you. Satellite Boy. The cancel culture was prevalent. I thought we were going to see woke activists at 23andMe. And he didn't misspell that. That's just how it comes across. And other ancestry companies start doxing families whose ancestors owned slaves, but I was wrong. Yeah, I don't think, I think that would just be a distraction. And I think little reward for all the risk of exposing that operation. But what it does do is, like Brandon said, you can target, you can weaponize that. You can weaponize viruses that way. I mean, you can make a strain that will avoid these people because they have this certain extra cell and only focus on these people. And then they think those people have special disease. I've often wondered, and I always thought it was weird that, like, for instance, certain groups get like a ton of sickle cell anemia, and certain, ethnic groups get a lot more diabetes than others, and certain ethnic groups get this. That seems really weird to me. On the skin, I could see it. Like, if, people from Ireland tend to get sunburns worse. Well, that makes sense. But like getting more diabetes and stuff like that, it's something to look into. And now the word is going around too that Lyme disease may have been engineered. I've always thought it was, because I got to tell you, these freaking ticks are impossible to kill. Like, impossible to kill. You ever take a tick and put it under water? It will stay under there for like 10 minutes. It's like they're mini robot assassins. Like, I've lost my mind with ticks. I literally hold them over the fire and I burn them slowly. And still they last pretty long on an open flame. It's weird, man. I'm not saying they're robots, but it's like they're really like adorable little creatures and they're disgusting. Anyways, I digress. Very tired. I was researching this all day, so I do apologize. If I don't make sense, just text me. Don't believe you. We went through that. Well, hopefully he put that in context for you. He's not saying it doesn't exist. He's saying not all of it is that. Please replay. I know about Anne with 23andMe. Cayman, I don't know what you mean. Can you, I don't know what you want me to replay. Do you want me to replay? I can replay the video from, I don't want to replay the 23andMe video, but I'm going to, I can replay. Just tell me what you want me to replay and I'll replay it. But I don't know what you mean. And by the way, Cayman is a part of the detective circle. That is the people been here since the beginning and follows the show. Cayman, thank you so much for being here. You're here every episode. I really appreciate it. Just letting you know that. Satellite Boy, some days it's blatant. If it's one or too long, like talking about the chem and contrails. No, I agree with you. I mean, Satellite Boy. So my wife, Naomi Wolf, is always looking at this stuff. And I'm always arguing with her saying, well, it could just be weather. And the problem with when Naomi Wolf starts saying something, it always comes true. It always comes true. I can't think of one thing she said that didn't come through. And some asshole out there will say, well, what about the time machine watch? There was an actual Apple time machine watch. That was the brand name of it. That was the branding. They took it out of context and ran with it. But the point is, it always comes true because it's not that it comes true. It's just that she researches things a lot. A lot. We don't even own a TV. She reads easily 12 books a week. It's insane. It's forced me to read a lot more, but which is good. But the thing is, like, she doesn't just say these things, just to throw them out there. She does research things, and really deep, well-trained way of researching that she has. I mean, that's why she's a best-selling author. And the fact that she's focused on the skies and these things, and she's done some research, and she did get shut down. She did get kicked off Twitter back under Jack Dorsey for life. She did find a program at Harvard about something going into the skies that was well-funded. by the government. So she's on to something, and all of you guys too may not be as the people looking at it like JD Loggerhead and all these guys, great guys. They might not be as well known, but they're doing great research, all these people on X. So that I just can't do it. I just don't have time. So I'm glad though, and I read all this stuff, and it's well sourced research. So went off on a tangent there, but I just wanted to address you, Satellite Boy, and let you know that I'm taking it seriously too. I can't get into the research of it, just like I haven't gotten deep into the research of the Pfizer vaccine, even though that was a big part of Daily Cloud. It's just because I'm researching other things, more of the geopolitical and military nature. So CCP, their subversion of this country into the commuter rail system, into the water system, the food supply, everything like that. And then true crime stuff too. I think it's important. I'm focused on Mangione, Brian Thompson healthcare case, not because I have any idealistic reason for that. I'm focused on that because if this kid is not, let's say this Mangione is guilty or innocent, for someone on the defense, and I'm coming from a defense lawyer perspective. I used to be an investigator for defense lawyers. We don't care if they're innocent or guilty. We care that they get the best possible defense under our legal system. And that's why I'm going after that, because with the Mangione case, it's really shown how many corners are being cut, how the media is being used and weaponized to meet an agenda. And that agenda is Alvin Bragg of the county of New York. He needs a win because he hasn't had one, because he's a loser. Okay, he's a horrible prosecutor. He's a horrible DA. He's the one that went after, he put the 34 indictments against Trump, but they're not actually crimes, and then he tried to throw the book at Daniel Penny, and he lost that case. And then Luigi Mangione comes along, and it's like, oh, that's the guy in the hood, go get him. Well, did we ever see him at the crime scene? No, we saw a guy in a hood, not even the right color jacket. So you should check out those cases. I covered that at length, and I'm still covering it. That's on my Substack if you check that out, right there at the bottom. So that's why I can't cover everything, but I do look at it. So, and if you want to send me stuff, but for the stuff involving the sky, always best to tag Brandon, because he does research things, and tag Naomi as well. So just letting you know. Hot EU or that's right. That is the hotel from Revenge of the Nerds. I totally, because there were some of the lights were out. It was the what was it again? The hotel. Yeah, Coral Essex. That's right. That's funny. Uranium One. Yes, Satellite Boy. That's the people that paid. Wasn't it Clinton got like $500,000 to do like one 45-minute speech? Will you 23andMe herself? Okay. I think it's getting late at the Cayman House. Oh, Finnegan, gotcha. All right, keeping going. Brinsdor, okay. Let me see here. Naomi's very astute. Yeah, she's been an academic and a writer her whole life. I mean, her first book that was The Beauty Myth in 1994, and that made the international stage, and it was just hard work. I mean, and right, good timing. But yeah, I mean, people a lot of times they see, and look, I met Naomi because she had death threats, and she hired me to protect her, and I did, and I took care of those threats. But I've grown the utmost respect for her because she just really loves to learn things and share those things she learns with other people. And it's really sad when I see people like, they get caught up in this ex-hate thing where I don't know if it's jealousy or they wish they were in that position, but people forget, like, you don't just get to those positions. You do if you're a Marxist on the Democrat side, under the current Marxist party. But in her case, it wasn't like that. In her case, it's writing. It's like more than just writing. Most writers, and by the way, you don't make crap as an author. And let me just put that out right now. Unless you're like what I call an airport author, like Lee Child is Jack Reacher, love his books. They're fun. They're good for a flight. Or John Grisham. But you don't make a lot of money in nonfiction or fiction. You don't make a lot of money in books because it's just not there. And I used to love when people would be like, oh, she's just writing the Pfizer book for the money. You know how much money we made on that? -6 figures because we covered the cost. Okay, so, that's the thing people forget. It's like you don't just get there because, you don't want to be on, like she doesn't want to be on a stage. You know what she tells me? She's like, I wish I could go back to my original major of poetry and just sit in the woods with our dog and you and write poetry and maybe or maybe not publish it. But I can't because there's kids, and she got into the whole fight against COVID, not for her or her kids or even my adult kid. It's too late. They're going to make their own decisions because at the time I had a 9-year-old. That's why she fought so hard, and then she got caught up in it. But, one thing you could take to the bank, whether you like her or you don't like her, Naomi's the most honest person I met and the nicest person I met, and, of course, the most beautiful person I met. Love my life. I won't get into all that for you guys, but I can say, as a very skeptical guy who was in the intelligence community, was a private detective who sees the bad before the good in everyone, she's easily the most honest, most transparent, nicest giving person I've ever met. So there, I said it. So I could tell I'm tired because I'm rambling. Let's keep going. She's like more like a calm. Yeah, that's a really good. I'm going to screenshot that. That's a really good comparison. She'll like that. I'm going to screenshot it and I'm going to put it on her X profile. There we go. Sorry everything's so red, guys. I got a problem with my camera, so I'll get that fixed. Or just start doing some daytime shows. Because we are in the woods this week. Well, I am. She's back tomorrow, so all right. Oh, I know what it is. The light's on a timer, so it turned blue. Okay. All right. I don't know what that is. Is that... Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Okay, got it. The ticks, yes. By the way, I'm in Hudson Valley, New York. There's so many damn ticks here. It's disgusting. And guess what? By the way, came in 666 right down the street. I want all of you to do this right now. Look up bat1health.org. That's where all the Dozic labs are. And I report on this, but start connecting the dots of Barbara Hahn, who you'll find over there. It's a project that is hiding under the Cato, not the Cato, the damn it, it's right down the street. Anyways, that's right down the street, and it's like a freaking these bat labs. Like these are all the same people from the whole bat network of these weird people 20 minutes down the street. And we also have the worst ticks in the world. And we also have, this is really weird too. One time I found a hornet up here and I killed it, of course. And I looked it up. There's this thing called Picture This where you could take a picture because it's a lot of weird bugs up here in the Hudson Valley. And I took a picture of it. Well, it said that wasp or whatever it was only exists in Peru. And I'm up in northern New York. I'm like, what the hell? And then you have all these researchers down the street. It's really weird, guys. And Peter Hudson is over at that same institute I'm talking about. And he is a well-known collaborator, Peter Dozic's of EcoHealth Alliance. So, and EcoHealth Alliance is right down in Palisades, New York. So did you see that Law and Order episode? With an episode... I should watch it because I honestly want to advise that family on who to sue when this is over. Guys, look, I've said it based on the facts that I've collected. If you watch my show, I don't even think they can put him in New York in December. So, and because let's face the facts, we don't have the only photos or images we have or video from the day of the murder is that surveillance footage. That's it. We don't know if those taxi photos are from that day. I can tell you this, all those taxi photos are on a sunny day, but it was raining that day. So, all right. But I don't want to get into that because I got to do another show on that. By the way, I made a playlist on Rumble that has all the Luigi Mangione videos in order. They're long, but you can clip them. They're editable, so you can use them, whatever. But get those far and wide. And really, hopefully you're following what I'm saying on this, because we got to protect the justice system, because you don't want to be Luigi Mangione without Luigi Mangione money. Like, he's lucky he's got the money. He can fight this. I assuming he is innocent, but it doesn't matter. He shouldn't have to spend his own money to get a good defense or a lot of money. And that's the thing. We're not protecting him. We're protecting the system at its core. And the system at its core is one of the best legal systems in the history of the world, if not the best. But if we let a case like this go through for the prosecution as it has gone, that becomes precedent. That becomes arguable precedent for future criminal cases, where that all of a sudden the standard of beyond a reasonable doubt goes down to, well, it kind of looked like him. That's not a country I want to live in. So that's why I'm fighting that case so hard. And look, I'm looking at it all. If I find something that says, oh shit, yeah, it is him, I'll let you know. Whoa, Kevin Costner, Whitney Houston made a document. Everyone says that Satellite Boy. If you could just look it up, I'll post it in the chat. I'll put it in the. Actually, if you go to my Substack, it's in the article, our wedding article that talks about it is in the bio, in the press kit in my Substack, and that's free. You can look at that for free. Bio products R&D Beckman. You should watch it because it's definitely programming. And that's it. So what did we learn tonight? Well, you learn a lot more from Brandon than me, but let me do this, guys. So all of this stuff is, all of this stuff you can find in my Substack and on Rumble. And again, I will say it over and over again. Please, please, please follow. If you're not already, and get your friends to follow, and I don't know, get a bunch of people to follow, but follow the show on Rumble. And the reason why is because we really need to get in that top tier of like a lot of people. We don't actually make any more money on that. I mean, we can if we go out and get advertisers, but we don't have a lot of advertisers because we just, the way I work is I take a client and that will power me through because I want to focus on this stuff and if I can find someone to pay me for this stuff, great. For now, I just do it because it's important and I like doing it. But the bigger it is, the further we reach. That's the thing. The further we reach, because there is that aha moment that's hard for a lot of people. You guys are already there, but where so many people, when I talk to them about like China, this, and Argentina, this, how they're connected, this who's working with who, this what Turkey's doing, you see their eyes glass over because it's kind of like if I threw X-Men comic book at you, issue number 117, and said, so what do you think? You'd be confused. You'd be like, I don't know who any of these characters are. But if you keep reading them, the earlier ones, the later ones, and then you buy the comic book, if the X-Men say Wolverine from that, that other thing, then you buy Wolverine. Then you learn the whole Marvel universe back when it was cool, before it was woke. But the point is, I was a big comic book collector, but that's how you get there. And then you have that aha moment. I think that's when all the dots connect, when you can see, okay, bio to this, to that. And it's borderless. That's the thing. It's a weird hybrid type of war we're in, but we're in the war now. If you watch my other episodes, you see why. Go to China Unscripted, another great podcast, or read all of Brandon's stuff, or just put, Chinese Communist Party space in quotes and then space site:*star.gov. It'll blow your mind. So none of this is conspiracy, but why do we learn it? Because it's easy to stop before it gets too far. It's easy to stop before it gets normalized. It's easy to stop when it's someone trying to buy their way into a local chamber of commerce so they can work their way up through the local business leaders and eventually into the government. That's how they get in our government, just like that. So if you recognize that, and that's what this war looks like, then all of a sudden you're like, oh, it's not because you're crazy. You're like, that makes total sense. And I'll say this. The Indian family that owns the gas station and the liquor store and the variety shop down in my other house, they see it all the time. They're like, they bought this, they bought this, they bought this. And she's like, yeah, I'm a little biased because I'm Indians and historically don't get along with the Chinese. But they're like, yeah, of course. Like I could tell them about unrestricted warfare and everything. And they're like, yeah, no kidding. Like it's common knowledge to them. So I would say this for everyone, the reason why we research all these things, and it seems like we're doing random topics, we're not. It's just we're peeling back the layers and showing where all of the war is, and the war is everywhere. And as you saw with the 23andMe thing, what Brandon was saying is terrifying. Definitely buy his book, Biohacked. You won't be sorry. The guy's an incredible guy. And I met him because he was on Steve Bannon. I just like DM'd him, and we had a call, and we've met at CPAC several times. He's going to come up and visit when he's ready to. Just had a little baby, so they can't come up quite yet. But yeah, like and it's so good to talk to Brandon because he gets it. He sees it. You got to zoom in, zoom out. There really are no coincidences. And there is an agenda. The agenda is profit for most. It's chaos for many. But the thing is, look at multiple agendas. Look at multiple vectors of attack. That's why I go to so many topics. So many people are like, oh, no, they're going to get us with another pandemic. Oh, no, they're going to get us with a terrorist attack. Well, if you read Unrestricted Warfare, they prescribe why not use all of them at once or different combinations. That's what I try to drive home. So, yeah, thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it. This 23andMe thing is definitely something to keep an eye on because as you can see here, what I showed with the, everything. The government's known about this stuff forever. They know that China's a threat. Not a threat, the enemy. Like they have made it clear. We need to be gone by 2049. They want our land, our resources, like I told Naomi a long time ago, and she loves saying this on her podcast, but I'm glad she quotes me. What does the CCP want from America? Our land, our resources, our wealth, and our everything else. They just don't want the Americans. They want everything else except for the Americans. Okay, and that's just a fact. And as we get closer to 2049, if we don't take these things out one by one, I like some of Brandon's ideas. Personally, I'm more of a kinetic guy myself. I would just hire a neighboring terrorist group to blow up the companies, but I like the way he thinks. If we don't stop these things now, you're going to see them get more and more violent. You're going to see things like the Tesla attacks, all this. I don't know if those are Chinese connected, but I can say that they're ceasefire related, meaning the same people that were defending Hamas, Jewish Voice for Peace. So I know they're related to that because they all plan in the same zones. And I know Jewish Voice for Peace is one of their leaders, Naomi Klein, wrote a book against my wife, attacking her, called Doppelganger. Naomi Klein's a moron. She is. I at one time I thought she was a great writer. She's just kind of a very angry, crooked tooth woman. What can I say? And by the way, and her husband works for Canadian Pharma. Go figure. But again, they're all related because one of her best friends, Jody Evans, the founder of Code Pink, her husband Roy has his offices in China in the same place as Xinhua Newsnet. So you see these things all connect. And if you notice, the flavor of all of these protests are very, very, well, let's just say it, Chinese Communist Party. The umbrellas, the masks, the signs, everything, the hammers and the sickles in BLM and Antifa. I mean, just go back and, just do side-by-side comparisons every time you see it. It's like 6 degrees to Kevin Bacon. I can play 3 degrees to the Chinese Communist Party on almost every major event in this country. Almost every major event. Blade Runner 2049, the remake. 2049. Okay. Guys, thank you so much. I'm going to hop off here before I look like a total lunatic. I appreciate it. In summary, we looked at 23andMe tonight. As I showed you, the Senate's known that they were in bed with China. China is one of the major investors through a venture capitalist group. The bankruptcy means nothing. It's all about the DNA. Doesn't matter if the company goes away. You know what that allows China to do? Not show their books to the U.S. because now the U.S. facing side is gone. That'd be 23andMe. But the DNA is in the servers at BIG and in the labs at BIG. What is BIG? Beijing Institute of Genomics, like when we started. So on that, I will leave you there. You guys have a great night. I'm going to write this one up. This is about time I do a Substack. It's been a while. So I'm going to write this one up. I will let that happen. And if you need access to it, just let me know. But it'll be free. But please do subscribe on Substack. Support my work with a paid subscription if you can. If you can, I understand. Or support Daily Clout. Whatever you can do. And you can also give here at Investigate Everything. And I actually made a little cool hashtag here too. A little QR code. Yep. There it is. You can support my work there. And what that does, that allows me to take less clients. So I can focus on this stuff. Get this show a little tighter and get this research even more out, which is free to you. So, help me out as much as you can, but I'll keep going. I understand this economy sucks. We're still got a long way to go, but I do appreciate, but just you being here means the most. So it lets me know people are listening and taking it seriously because it's late and the audience is increased. So that's good because all I care about is that Brandon's a great guy, but when you really listen to what he's saying, it's really demonic future. Think about it this way. You don't see it. It's a slow burn. But if the China dream is realized by 2049, those images of the Uyghurs will look like summer camp because it's going to be far worse for us. And they never stop marching forward in multiple vectors. Find them, expose them, stop them. Any way you can. This has been Brian O'Shea with Investigate Everything. I hope you have a great night. And I'm going to call it a night, and I will see you maybe tomorrow, but definitely on Friday at 8 o'clock. So, actually, Friday, I'm going to do a Saturday show because I am going to do tomorrow at 8 o'clock because, no, I can't because I'm doing a podcast with Lev. I'll be on tomorrow with something called Break the Rules. Definitely check that out. I will put that up on my Twitter. Lev's a good friend of mine. But anyways, I'll get a show in on Friday one way or another. I'll just let you know when it is. And if you can't find it, I'll just go to dailyclout.io, click on Investigate Everything, or just go to our Rumble channel. You find all the shows there under Investigate Everything. Or just go to Rumble and search for Investigate Everything. I'll pop right up. Okay, I am exhausted. I hope that was informative for you. 23andMe went away really quickly. Also, here's an assignment for everyone. Miss 23andMe interview, will it post tonight? Yeah, it's up. So on Rumble, the minute like the recording's over, it posts on Rumble. That's how I have it set. So you don't have to wait. And then our editors go through after the fact. Let me just navigate this for you just so you guys know. Okay. So here's what it looks like. I'll share the screen with you. American Dreamer, welcome back. Sorry you got here late, but it's not your fault. I didn't announce this one because me and Brandon, his daughter was at a volleyball game, so he was running to that. Then I said, why don't we move it to 8 o'clock? Then it moved to 8:30 for me because then I had an issue. But let me share this with you. American Dreamer, just so you understand, so you know where to go. Okay. So let me make that a little bigger for you. A little bigger. Okay. Bigger. There we go. Okay, so here, definitely, this is a follow unfollow. So right there, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but up there on the right, definitely when you go, you just follow. You don't have to sign up for anything if you follow. You just follow. I think you need an account to follow, but the accounts are free. This here takes you to locals for Daily Clout. That's join for paid support. We are going to do a call-in show. When we do the call-in show, it will only be for paid supporters, just because otherwise there'll be too many phone calls. But, paid supporters, someone joins on Rumble, on locals. Here's where you could see it's just investigate everything on Daily Clout when you're searching for it. And so right here, American Dreamer, this is live. But right when I'm done, this will do a quick processing and it will load right up and it'll be there. So you see these. Now, when you go back through a couple weeks later, you'll see here there's a little difference. So like here is episode 250324, big update on Luigi Mangione case. You see this really fancy tile. That's not mine. I didn't do that. That's our Sean, our awesome director of the creative side, whatever they call it. And then here, you could see, trying to find the big update so you know the difference. No, that was okay, so I don't even know what that one was. But basically here you will see, I hope they didn't take it down. Oh no, I see what he did. He replaced my tile. But typically you'll see, so what I'm getting at is sometimes you'll see, okay, like this one here looks exactly the same, right? It's because one is edited. So the earlier one is always the live raw recording, and then the shorter one is always with edits. Not much of a difference there, but we get different links and additional details. So to make it easy on you, when you go over here after you follow, go to playlists. And then last night, I set up 2 playlists, got the California fires, there's more videos got to finish. And then all the Luigi Mangione videos are here. Every interview I did with Jeanine Eunice and all that. So from the beginning, they're stacked in order. So you could share the playlist too. If you go there, you just hit that button there and share the playlist and get it out to people, definitely. But the more followers, the better. And then more people are sharing it. That's the goal. All right. I said goodbye like 15 times. So I really should go now. Hope that helps. Okay, so thanks. Some of the podcasts I watch only post part of the lives they do after the fact. I've been a follower for a while. Love hearing your take. Oh, thanks, Matt. I really appreciate that, American Dreamer. I just post it out there. Even if I say something horrible, I post it out there. If it's really horrible, I apologize, but I don't cut this at all. Never. The only ones I'll delete is like sometimes I'll set up a live and then I have to kill it, but it just keeps going. So it's just like blank. So those I get rid of. But yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. Guess I've never seen your landing page on Rumble. Yeah. So this is, that's really interesting because it should come right up, but let me give you the whole ecosystem here. So, all right. All right. So here is this. And then what you want to do is, let me stop sharing for a second because I don't want to show. All right, I'm just going to call up another Rumble thing. So it's my channel is just, my channel is actually Investigate Everything. Okay, so, but that's not the account. The account is Daily Clout, the company that my show posts to, that hosts my show, that, sets it up and pays for everything, like the streaming and all that. So yeah, that's where it sits, but I'm just trying to find a way to take you there. So if you look at Daily Clout, you'll find it. But the thing is, like, you could just seriously, you can just search in Rumble for, Daily Clout. I mean, Brian O'Shea, or Investigate Everything. It will come right up. It definitely will come right up. So, yeah, let me see here. Daily Clout. There we go. Just trying to. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so here we go. So this is the main page. I'm going to share this with you now. All right. And there's also dailyclout.io links over to here as well. So this is what it looks like if you're, this is the main account that it's like the Daily Clout would be CBS, or that's like the network. Thank you. That's what I was thinking of. So that's live right now. We always feature the lives up top, but these are all our shows. Okay. She's really good. I just started watching her the other night, but the Dr. Dina, she talks about manipulation, all this really cool, like, body language and everything. Really cool show. So yeah, you see all our shows here. Pretty easy to find. And then here. And they're all in order, but we have some great contributors. Check them all out. Melissa Blazek's great because she was a congresswoman in New Hampshire, so she knows exactly how to effectively reach congresspeople with the types of protests and everything. Very cool. The very controversial, I know she pisses a lot of people off. She's a good friend, but I barely agree with her on anything, as Shannon Joy. But it's America, so that's her show, and I really enjoy her. She's a really good friend, so good, and she's really good people. Don't ever let politics get in the way of friendships. And then Drew, I really like this guy, Drew Allen. I met him at CPAC. He's he works for the publicist company that is most of Daily Clout's publicity. This guy is really convicted, really awesome patriot, but he's very, very, very analytical and moving in the way he presents his topics. So definitely check that out. And of course, Seth Whole House of Man in America is a top quality show. I'm going to be on sets. I'm recording on sets tomorrow. So we're going to be talking about several things, and that will probably drop next week. Again, Melissa Blazek, can't go wrong. So lots of shows, not just mine. And Naomi, and outspoken, and she just kind of pops up everywhere. Sarah Westall is awesome. She actually interviewed me back in like 2012, before I even knew Naomi. I was down there in DC. I just left the intelligence community, and she did a whole interview about the NSA and the private economy of spies that I was writing about at the time and working in. So it was so crazy when the pandemic started that my wife said, yeah, someone named Sarah Westall is interviewing me. I said, I was on her show long ago. So small world. And by the way, Naomi does these great Geneva Bible readings, and she also does, she's a lot of fun and interesting and awesome, but really a lot of fun too, because when she's interested in something, she dives in. So here she just got back from India. I chose not to go on that trip because I had to, I was tired, first of all, from so much travel, but also my son just started a new football season, so I can't miss that. But yeah, she got back from India, found all these spices, and some really cool remedies. She always finds these really cool remedies. So, all right, guys, I'll say goodbye for the 17th time. I should really go. I just thought about it. I have to. Front page not on mobile. What is he talking about? Okay, so Ernie, what are you talking about? Front page not on mobile. Don't have computer. Oh. Your front page not on mobile. Don't have computer. You don't have a computer? I have like 7 extra ones. I should give you one. I used to buy a laptop every time I did a new case, so that way if like I got like sued or something, I could burn it. I've got it now. Before tonight, I got you through Daily Clout. Didn't know you had a separate page. No, it's not a separate page. It's not really a separate page. It's just here, like it's a show under Daily Clout. That's the best way to describe it. So it's not separate, but when you go to the show, it's a separate channel, just like anything would be. It's like, I don't know how I explain it. Like when you have shows on HBO. Here's a great example. So you go to Amazon if you're watching, or Netflix, and you're watching a show that has episodic, it's different episodes. Okay. So you go to that show, and then they have episodes, info, all that. It's like this. But it's still under like Apple TV or Amazon. So consider like that would be Daily Cloud would be like the network, and then we're the different programs. Hope that makes sense. Appreciate the new info. Lots of new info. That's how you follow. Don't forget that. Definitely. Yeah, that's how you follow. And Dana Priest, yes. First saw Naomi in War Room, and you and Naomi and Dr. Drew. Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, that was really good friends, Dr. Drew and Susan. Drew Pinsky and Susan Pinsky, really good people. We had dinner not too long ago in New York. It was nice to see them again, and I love going on Dr. Drew. It's just like it's nice to have another couple you could be friends with, and that's they're just really cool people. I like them a lot. Susan's really great. I love her show. I've been on her show a few times, and she has a really interesting show. She has psychics on and stuff, and they'll have me on, so it's a lot of fun, but it's very cool too. All right, well, that is it for now. By the way, guys, don't forget, if you ever have a really good story you want to tell, you want to come on the show, certainly reach out to me, and I can't guarantee you'll be on the show. But if you have a well-sourced investigation, you got a good story to tell, I'll make a decision. I always have to be careful who I put on, because I did put someone on a pre-record one time, and they started like dropping like all these weird like hate slurs on me, and I was like, what the hell, man, bye-bye. But yeah, if you ever you think you have a really compelling story, and you've done some research, you got the receipts, I'll consider it. You know how to reach me. All right, I want to get Cousin Ernie on there because he's my cousin, and I just want to get him on there and BS with him for like hours about whatever's going on. And he was in the Navy too. Oh, I do have some news. So my neighbor is affiliated with, he said not to call it a gang, so I have to call it motorcycle enthusiasts, known as the Hells Angels. I informed him today because he's like, hey, can you tell Elon to get me this kind of bike? And I was like, I don't know Elon Musk. He's like, well, you know people that have a better chance that he might see your message. I said, yeah, maybe. So I said, hey, you want to get Elon's attention? You guys are going to love this one. I said, you want to get Elon's attention? Seriously. And by the way, the guy I'm talking to is hardcore. He's the president of the motorcycle club. Great guy. He's also a deadlift champion at 75 years old. And I think he deadlifts some ungodly amount. It's like Guinness Book of World Record level. But anyways, I told him today, I said, you want to get Elon Musk's attention? It'd be great if a bunch of Harleys and Hells Angels rolled up on people keying cars and trying to blow things up. I'm sure Elon would be happy to buy them all new bikes. So I said, I can't guarantee it, but yeah, you want to get people to stop doing these vandalisms, have a couple of them approached, I'm careful the way I'm saying this, accosted by, members of my neighbor's motorcycle enthusiast network. I think that'd be perfect. And I highly encourage it. And he's kind of nodded his head. He's a smart guy. He doesn't want to say too much out there, and it's great. We sit up here in the country for like an hour and just sit there BSing. He's got like rings on every finger, tattoos, and he's like, hey man, I'm going to get another tattoo on my face. I'm like, where are you going to put it? But anyways, yeah, so we'll see. I'm going to keep reminding him, like, hey, go get those Tesla vandals. Get Elon Musk's attention if you bring a little justice to those Tesla vandals. So there we go. It's a new world, and they made it dangerous, so if they have to deal with the danger, they got to deal with it. All right, but wouldn't that be a great confrontation video? Like someone keying a car and like 15 Hells Angels rolling up on them. I would love that. I don't even care the outcome. I'm so sick of these people. These liberal morons, these Marxist crazy lunatics. They're just ruining a good party, and that party is America. They need to leave the party. So completely. All right, guys. I'm going to start saying some dark stuff, so I better go to bed. Thank you so much. This has been Investigate Everything with Brian O'Shea. I will have all the links posted tomorrow. I will try to get a new Substack out this week. We're starting a morning news report. I'm going to try to do one tomorrow. We're kind of finding our legs, so give us time. But news, opinion, analysis, but not the weather. And it's called DC Confidential. That starts. I'm going to try to start that tomorrow. And Naomi's going to be co-hosting with me on that whenever she can. We both have busy schedules, but she'll be co-hosting. Brandon said he'd co-host to a few, and so we'll take it. And we're always looking for new contributors. So you're welcome, American Dreamer. You're welcome, Ernie. You're welcome, everyone that's here. It's always good to see you. Satellite Boy, it's been a while. Good to see you. Cayman 666. Good thing you're here. Always love seeing familiar names. And we are going to do a call-in one too. And I know who's here since the beginning, so you guys and girls will always be able to call in. We're just trying to get that set up as best we can. I'm letting our guy work on that. But yeah, so there we are, guys. Have a great night. I will talk to you soon. I'll probably do another stream tomorrow. But look for the DC Confidential. I can't guarantee it'll be at 8:30, but you know me. Somewhere between 8:30 and 10. I don't know, but we'll get it out. We'll get the news out. And it always records, just like I showed American Dreamer. It always records. It will be on the site. And you could always go to my Twitter. Don't forget to follow that. And, of course, definitely check out our great sponsors. The Wellness Company is awesome. Native Path is fantastic. Got my collagen. Got my nighttime collagen. And they're not a sponsor yet, but I have a feeling they're going to be. 1775 Coffee, and they just sent me this tea berry coffee. They're not even a sponsor, but I just got to say, get that Native Path coffee. Tea berry, I didn't even know what it was, like this premium bean or something like that, whatever. And I ground it up and I put it in it was like literally the best coffee I've ever had. It's the first time I had coffee black and liked it. I didn't even need to add anything to it. So just check out 1775 Coffee. They're owned by Rumble. It's the best coffee I've ever had in my life. I'm not going to lie to you. It's great. My promo code does work over there. It's from my old show, Unrestricted. So type in Unrestricted. You'll get 10%, or I think 10 or 15 off your whole order. It makes a difference. And also check this out. They are giving a Tesla away right now, which I think is awesome. That's why I bought $100 worth of coffee, because A, we go through coffee like it's no one's business, but B, let me share this with you guys. I love this company, by the way. They're great. So this 1775 Coffee, check it out. So I got 200 entries for that Tesla truck. Okay, and so that's how it works. Great. I just want to point out this one. So I just want to point this out to you guys. I'm not a big Keurig fan, so I don't care about the pods, but oh, wow, they got a new product. Anti-aging coffee. No way, get out. You guys see that? Anti-aging coffee. No freaking way. How did they do that? I'm reading a script. They're not even a sponsor. I'm just looking. This isn't your average cup of coffee. It's high performance, longevity fueled elixir. We took our bold, full flavor roast and supercharged it with CAAKG, a clinically backed compound designed to support cellular energy. I'm so getting this coffee. I mean, who's not at least intrigued? Like, this is the coolest thing. I was just on here like 3 days ago, and this was not on here. This is amazing. I'm like, this coffee is so good. I've never been excited about coffee ever. It's so good. Man, I'm all about this stuff. It's so good. Okay, the other one, that's so cool. Rejuvenating coffee. I can't wait to tell. I can tell everyone about that. That's really neat, because I'm so worried I'm getting old. Coffee protein. That was a new product. Oh, that's what this is. So the coffee protein. No, not Salute. Don't use that. Use Unrestricted. Okay, so Power up, fuel your coffee. Yeah, so this is like a creamer. That's also protein. That's really smart. I haven't had it yet, but it's a protein enhanced creamer. So you get everything in one shot. I got to get that cup. $17.75 if you're listening. I'm literally promoting you for free. I want that cup. That's the least you can do. I just got to show you one more. I got to show you the tea berry. That's what I got here. By the way, I do have ADHD. I apparently have chronic PTSD. I found out the other day. I was diagnosed in 2021, and they just told me the other day. I can say I went into the VA hospital the other day in Albany. It's the most efficient I've ever seen. And the guy was telling me, he's like, yeah, because we don't have to sit in DEI courses like half the week. So I'm so glad for that. Anyways, here we go. The coffee. Okay. I can't get it all the time, but I'm glad I got a bag of it. It was worth it. So it's called Premium Pea Berry. This stuff is amazing. Like, I've never had a coffee this good. It's amazing. It's like really rare beans, apparently. Small, round, dense, rare, less than 5% grown. It's amazing. It's really cool. And then, plus I love when that bag comes in because, like, yes, all this coffee, you open it, I got like 5 bags of coffee and just smells so good. I just love this coffee. It's so good. And it's 16-ounce bags too, which I think is great. Oh, and then if you don't have time for coffee, I guess it's like practice for, hopefully they'll become a sponsor. Okay. Really cool product. This last one I'll show you because they're going to kill me back at the office when they're like, why are you promoting? They're not a sponsor, but here. If you can't get the coffee in, another thing I like is Limitless. It's amazing. It's like literally like natural Adderall. This stuff is great cognitive enhancement. I take one of these every morning. Honestly, I have so many supplements from all our sponsors. I take them all, and it's great, and really powers me through a lot. So, but this, you can see what's in it. It's nothing artificial. All right, guys, I'm going to bed. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great night for the 50th time. Pea berry, there it is. What did I say? Tea berry. Pea berry is so good, right? It's so good. Like, I love coffee, and I love a good cup of coffee, but I gotta say, that damn pea berry. I thought it was a gimmick, Ernie. Have you tried it? Okay, let me see. The Prius is gone, dude. Prius is gone long, and it wasn't my Prius, for the record. No, that thing got traded in. We have a RAV now, and then I have an Explorer that is like getting more and more enhanced because my mechanic, he has a fleet of cars that have no electronics. It's really cool. We got a great tight community up here. We got to flush out some of the leaf peepers, but once they're gone, we're gonna have a nice tight little legal militia up here. I'm very excited about it. How long can O'Shea go? I'm filibustering right now. I'm like, Mr. Smith goes to Washington. I'm going to go. We're going to see who drops first, Ernie. Me or you? Filing a new claim? I am filing a new claim. No, I have to update my claim. Since 2021, chronic PTSD. Can you believe it? So, yeah, that's it. That's okay. That's okay. All right, guys. How long did I go? I should, Ernie, they actually, people do have these mega streams, and they have competitions to see how long they could do an unbroken stream. It's pretty amazing. I think I'd be really good at it. So, all right, but I got to get some sleep so I can go even further tomorrow night. So yeah, guys, have a great night. I will be on, let me actually put this up so you guys can peek in over there. I'm going to get ganged up on. I'm trying to get Brandon to go over there with me, but I'll probably get ganged up on by a bunch of younglings on this podcast. It's my friend Lev's podcast. I like him a lot. I met him long ago. He reached out to me, but it's been a long time. Lev, I just want to call it up so you guys know where to find me tomorrow. It's not my podcast, but it's interesting. It's I go on there. It's younger people and JJ Carroll was on there one time, and I think Lev does this shit on purpose. Like he put, he had JJ Carroll who was 25-year on the border, and then he had some guy from like Seattle, a friend of his, who was like pro-immigrant, and you just see Levy's watching them like go at each other. It was hilarious. Okay, so here's Lev's. That is his profile. Okay, and so Lev's a good friend of mine. His show's called Break the Rules, and it's cool. I really like it a lot. Break the Rules TV. Lev Liz, he's just a really smart guy. He's got great ideas, and he has really great guests. So that's, if you go to YouTube, just look up Break the Rules or Break the, and I use 3 as an E, but I'll be on there tomorrow. Brandon might be on there, and we're talking about Ukraine, Russia, and the signal intelligence fiasco, which I don't think our side did anything wrong. I think honesty was freaking made up. That's what I think. And I'll show you what I mean. I got to get that ready for tomorrow. But forgot the guy's name who broke it from the Atlantic. He was having a meltdown on a left-wing podcast when the guy even questioned him. It just seems like, plus the things like they don't seem to want to accept the fact that the president is the senior classification authority in the country. And the Democrats hate that because they're, communists, and communists like bureaucracies. They don't want one man at the top. Can't have that. That's where they're systematically chopping away at Biden. He didn't even realize it. All right, guys, good night. I will see you tomorrow.